of the Governor's Pardon Advisory Board. Today is our June 24th, 2022 hearing. We're going to be hearing from a number of folks today. I'm going to be running through a few housekeeping items and then we'll jump right into it. So first, this is an open meeting to the public. It is being live streamed both on YouTube and on Wisconsin Eye. Therefore, please be cognizant of that in order to help the board members, so we can listen to the person whose time it is to meet with us. I ask two things of you. One is that you mute yourself until it's your turn to speak. And two, that you turn your camera off until it's your turn to speak. You can do so there are two little buttons, most likely in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. One's a microphone, one's a video or a camera icon. You can just tap on those and turn them off. When it's your turn to speak, I will call your name and then please unmute yourself and turn your camera on so we can see your face. It helps with us when we're asking questions and hearing from you. We are going to be calling folks in the order that they are listed on the open meeting notice. So we will be starting with Michael, then Robert, Donald, Kim, Ronaldo, Jermaine, Willie, Adam, Renee, and then Jasmine in that order. My apologies ahead of time if I mispronounce anybody's names, but I will do my best. In addition to myself on the board today, we have three other board members. We have Reverend Jerry Hancock. Jerry is a former county and state prosecutor and now is director of the Prison Ministry Project. We have Dr. Noble Ray, the former chief of police for the city of Madison and now does implicit bias training for law enforcement agencies around the country and world. And last and certainly not least, we have Nadia Perez-Reyes, who's Assistant Deputy Secretary for the Wisconsin Department of Children and Families and a former public defender. When I call your name, again, unmute yourself, turn your camera on. You will have about 5 minutes in order to share your story with us. We sent you 3 questions ahead of time. In short, we want to hear specifics on how you ended up with a felony conviction, not just that I was in the wrong place at the wrong time and ended up with a felony conviction. There's a little bit more substance there. So we want to hear what happened. We want to hear what happened afterwards in terms of how your sentence went. And then we want to hear from you on why you believe that you've earned the chance to receive a pardon, whether you do volunteer service, why you need a pardon, etc. Again, you have about 5 to 7 minutes to do that, so please be concise. We have read through your application, so we do have quite a bit of this information, but we want to hear from you in your own words, and then I will open it up to the board for questions, and we may or may not have questions for you. Don't be offended if we do or don't. It just depends on our curiosity and your presentation materials. After we get done hearing from all the folks today, we will be meeting in closed session as a board, and we will be deliberating on whether to forward your application to the governor. Because we have 4 members present here today, you need to have support from at least 3 of us to have your application go to the governor, and then he'll make a final decision on your application. If you don't receive majority support from the board, or if the governor gets your application and rejects it, you'll receive a denial letter from the Pardon Advisory Board, and you'll receive that letter in about a month, give or take, sometimes up to 2 months after the date of from today. In addition, if you receive a pardon, you'll receive that in about 1 to 2 months from today. So the longest wait was getting here today. It's relatively fast from here on out. Final little bit of housekeeping is once you are done speaking to the board, sign off. You don't need to stick around. There's no benefit for sticking around. You can go about enjoying what's hopefully a beautiful day for you wherever you're calling in from. And with that, I will be calling up our first applicant. So Michael, let me see if you're on. So Mike, Heiser, if you wouldn't mind, there you go. Mike, you've heard my spiel. So again, you have about 5 to 7 minutes with us. If you could share your story with us, and then I'll open up to the board for questions. So please proceed.
All right, thank you. First of all, thank you, board, for taking the time and the consideration to hearing not only my request, but also everybody else that's here today. Brief summary, my offense was aggravated battery. Long story short, the victim threw a beer bottle at me. It struck a female friend, so I ran after the victim, followed him outside. I struck the victim 1 time and he went down. 2 idiots that were with me that I thought were my friends kicked him repeatedly after he went down, and I believe they inflicted most of the damage, but I swung first and I do accept responsibility. I was sentenced to 6 months of jail with Huber. I was released in 4.5 months with good behavior. Being locked up was extremely embarrassing and very humbling. I was ashamed that I had allowed myself to even be in a position where something like that could happen. And it was the lowest point that I have ever been in my life. And there was only one way to go, and that was up. So I dedicated my life to being the best person that I could be. Actions speak louder than words. And I feel that the actions that I have taken in my life since that day prove without a doubt that I have been reformed and will never again put myself in a similar position. Since I've completed my sentence, my life has changed dramatically. I married the love of my life, and she helped me get through those dark times. My faith was re-energized. I gave up the lifestyle that I was living. Our family began to increase as I received a promotion and moved with my wife and newborn daughter to Green Bay in 2005. By 2009, we had 4 beautiful daughters and several dogs and cats. Alcohol was now a thing of the past, and my life revolves around my family, my church, my community, and my job. And I have been completely sober for 13 years now. I was rewarded for my dedication to excellence at my job and was tasked with many additional responsibilities, including assuming the role of managing the safety and security at our distribution terminals located all throughout the Great Lakes. I have been formally recognized by my company and our CEO on several occasions. I have been with this company, which will be 19 years in July. With regards to my community, I try to assist wherever I can find the time. Since 2014, I've been an active member of the Brown County Harbor Commission, which is a group of local leaders who voluntarily oversee the port operations for Green Bay. I'm the current Secretary Treasurer of the International Shipmasters Association, Lodge 18. I'm the senior adult Sunday school teacher at my church in Oconto. I also plow snow for the church and other elderly folks at no cost to them. I am involved in area maritime security committees in Milwaukee and Northeast Wisconsin. I'm a lifetime member of the VFW. I frequently volunteer for various events at our local and middle and high schools, and have chaperoned several field trips, including one to DC several years ago. Once again, when time permits, I help out with local youth sports, including softball and soccer. Lastly, I've been active in my community as it relates to veteran events. My family and I built a Marine Corps War Memorial at our house to honor those U.S. Marines killed in action from the unit that I was assigned to. It was well received by the community, and this past Memorial Day, I was actually the keynote speaker at the Fort Howard Memorial Day event in Green Bay. This gets us all back to why I think I should receive a pardon. I believe that one must first look at what the pardon actually is, which is a grant of forgiveness by the governor. In a general sense, forgiveness is a fundamental part of healing, but there can be no forgiveness without repentance. Since that fateful date, I have truly repented of my actions and lifestyle that I was living. I am most certainly not the same person that I was back in 2003. I furthermore believe that I am an excellent representative of how the justice system can be effective. A very serious crime was committed by me. I took responsibility for my actions. I was punished. And lastly, I was reformed and have become a model citizen who has dedicated my life to helping my family, my friends, and my community to be better in every way that I can. On a side note, I am stuck at my current position with my employer due to the fact that I am not allowed to travel into Canada because of my conviction. I was informed by Canadian Customs that a pardon would allow me to travel into Canada to perform the work that needs to be done. In my position, I currently manage safety and security at all of our US-based terminals in the Great Lakes. Their desire for me is to expand my reach into Canada to manage our Canadian terminals as well. On a professional level as well as personal level, I am extremely embarrassed by what I did, which is difficult for me as I work with various law enforcement agencies as part of my job, which include the U.S. Coast Guard, Customs and Border Patrol, the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, local police and sheriff's units from all over the Great Lakes region. This also affects my ability to hold public office, which is an area with great appeal to me. My daughters are also embarrassed about my title as convicted felon. I use my experience as a teaching lesson for them about the importance of always telling the truth and taking responsibility for your actions and ultimately taking the punishment. A pardon is forgiveness. That's another lesson that I would like them to learn, with our esteemed governor having the great power to help teach this lesson, but not forgetting the crucial role that you, the Pardon Advisory Board, has in this life-changing process. I humbly ask for your approval.
Thanks, Mike. I just have two questions, and I'll turn it over to the board if they have more. First, I'm assuming you didn't know, based on the criminal complaint, it sounds like you had no idea who the victim was, right? I mean, it was
No.
just a guy at the bar. Did you have any contact with the victim afterwards?
No, I was told not to.
Okay.
And I just never did. I kind of always wanted to reach out just to, hey, I'm sorry. I couldn't feel any worse about what happened, but I just let bygones be bygones and tried to move on with my life.
And then just briefly, could you just describe what you mentioned this both in your presentation today and your application? Can you just describe your service with the Marines?
Oh, I served honorably from 89 to 93, participated in Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm, and then Operation Restore Hope in Somalia. I was stationed on an aircraft carrier for a year and a half. So I got plenty of stories about the good times. And, unfortunately, I did have a comrade that we lost over in Somalia, and that was kind of the key for me to build this war memorial, was to honor him and his family.
Okay, thanks. Questions from the board? Jerry?
Mike, your 13-year-old daughter said in her letter that you were drunk and stupid. Is that about right?
Without a doubt. Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks.
All right, well, thanks, Mike, for appearing before us. Like I said at the beginning, you'll hear from us in about a month or two in terms of the outcome of the process, but appreciate your time and hope you have a good weekend.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thanks. All right, next we will be hearing from Robert Nance.
Hello.
Hello. Well, thanks for appearing before us, Mr. Nance. You've seen how this works, so the next 5 to 7 minutes are yours in order to explain what occurred and what you've done since then, why you think you've earned a chance to receive a pardon. Then I'll open up for questions. So please proceed.
My name is Robert Nance, and I was put in a pardon because I was trying to get into nursing school for 2-year nursing medical. Since I got out of prison, I felt kind of bad about what I have done in my life, because it really wasn't me. It was like I was a follower, instead of being a leader, and I was young at the time when I first started all of this. And it was like kind of proven like in court that I didn't do it, and I did do it because I was part of the crime. I understood all that there as I got older and older and older. I have 2 boys out here in the streets, and I prayed and prayed and hope I get out here and keep them from going through what I have went through. And God, He granted me that, and I finally got out, did my time, got out. I kept them from that. They've been successful in life. I have grandkids, and I've been talking to them about don't do this, don't do that, tell the truth, this, everything you're supposed to do, whatever the law say, don't do anything that someone else wants you to do. You do what you're supposed to do. And recently, I have a brother had passed away of sickle cell. Before that, I helped my mom take care of him. While I was working in Nabisco, worked in Nabisco. I retired from Nabisco now. And at that time, I was helping my mom, and then my mom, she's down with dementia now, and I've been taking care of her we've been seeing it for the last 10 years. So the doctor had told me it was coming. So recently I've been taking care of her now. I haven't been able to go back to work. I had a couple years going back to work in different places, but I see now she really can't do what she want to do, and I've been at home with her. And that's what made me, want to go into nursing, because I see a lot of human being people out here that really needs help, don't have no one to help them. It's kind of been hurting me, because a lot of people just don't have no one around them. I can see this. And by watching my mom go down like that, and my grandmother went down like that too. And it's just been in my heart to want to help people now. And I don't mean to feel where I'm feeling now, but I really don't have too much. I know I went through a lot. I've done a lot wrong. And I'm really sorry for what I have done in my life. And I know I'm a good person. And I didn't find God. My grandmother raised me from a baby, reading the Bible to me, and I always have been in with God. I just wanted to do what other guys do, like a fool, but I'm glad I bounced back, and I really wanted this pardon because I wanted to get into this nursing school and get my medical degree, 2-year medical degree, in case I have to administer some medicine or whatever. My wife is going to take over taking care of my mom. She retiring next year, so I can go on and do what I want to do. And that's about all right now. And I know my son is picking up. He's been into it for 17 years. We plan on trying to open up a home for people with dementia. He's been doing this for 17 years now. So we talking about doing that there. Me, him, and his fiance right now. We're gonna do it. But I'm just trying to get my degree, what I need to do, so I'm able to do this, because it's just too much out here going on out here in this world now. Well, thank you for listening to me.
Thanks, Robert.
Everyone.
Questions from the board? Jerry?
Robert, your life is kind of divided exactly in half. Until you were like 38, you were in all kinds of trouble.
Yeah.
And then it stops. What caused you to change your life?
It was things that going on in my family, and I look back on the things I have been doing. I didn't want to see my sons come up doing this. I watched my mom. She raised us by herself. My stepfather, they divorced it. And I watched those things like that. And a lot of guys in there, they came to me and told me, this is not you. They look at me and tell me, what me? You get out there and raise your shorties. That's what they call them in prison, shorties. You raise them right. Don't come back up in here. And I talked to some of the guards in there, the sergeants that are doing. They talk to me the same way. This is not you. Because I worked, and all I did was worked in there. And I worked on myself. I prayed and sit down on my knees, and I promised I would never come back. That's why I never came back. And I'm not going back. And I watch my mom now. She going, I don't even do this here. I watch the way my mom is coming up now. I lost my brother. I lost my sister. I just want to do better in my life. I just want the world to see I was a better man than I was. I don't know why I'm even crying like this. It don't make sense.
It's fine, Robert. It's fine. Thank you very much.
Any other questions from the board? Well, Mr. Nance, thanks for appearing before us and sharing your story, and very sorry to hear about your losses. Like I said to the previous applicant, you'll hear from us in about a month or two from today's hearing in terms of the outcome, but I appreciate your time and candor and hope you have a good weekend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care. All right, next we will be hearing from Donald Reichwald. So Donald, let me see if you're on. All right, looks like we're having some audio issues with Donald, so we will reach out to him and loop back. And until we do so, we will go to our next applicant, Kim Jackson. So Kim. There we go. Welcome, Ms. Jackson. You've had the benefit now of seeing how this works, so I'm just going to hand things right over to you.
Absolutely. Good morning, Advisory Board. My name is Kim M. Jackson. I am coming before you this morning in request of a pardon for my conviction of forgery party to a crime that happened in December of '95. I'm guilty as charged for everything that I've written up in my, I did everything that they accused me of doing. I have no excuse except for I was young, I didn't know any better, and I truly thought that I would be successful in getting away with it. Since then, in my pardon application, you can see that I've done a number of things to improve on myself for the betterment of myself and my daughter, who was 6 months at that time, that I was so afraid of being separated from. It made me want to change and do better. I was employed with Johnson Controls, gainfully employed from November of '96 until April of 2019. Johnson Controls is notorious for expanding and contracting. So they contracted and I was unemployed as of April 19th or April of 2019. Had to look for other employment, went through Landsoft, who had a contract with Freighter Health. Freighter Health, gainfully employed there. It came up again where I knew I'd have to go through, being honest and saying that I had a felony on my record, forgery party to a crime. And it was just very stressful because I know that I've done so many things since then to better myself. I have 2 degrees. I have an associate's degree from Cardinal Stritch University and a bachelor's degree. I'm very involved in my church, Park Lawn. You've got letters from colleagues and clergy stating that they didn't even know, if it hadn't been for me reaching out saying, hey, I need you to write a letter of recommendation on my behalf. They just assumed that I had always been a law-abiding citizen, and which I have. It's been for 27 years. I've had no police contact, none of that. I participate in Black Excellence, the Black Achievers for UW, for the now I'm getting nervous, for the YMCA. I participate in Black Women's Studies, which just for them to get different information that they can gather for women like myself. I'm in Toastmasters, so I'm really fumbling around my Toastmasters coach there. They would be very upset with me with all of the filler language and the ums and the ah, but I've just done everything to try to make a better life for myself and my daughter. And with the help of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, who I owe it all to, it's nothing that I could have done on my own. If it wasn't for him, I would probably be the same person. But just to reiterate, I have done a number of different changes. I'm asking for the pardon not to carry a firearm. Believe it or not, I'd like to join the illustrious Alpha Kappa Alpha, AKA, and just talking to a number of different women, I would not, because they're going to run a background check on me. And if they see anything, any blemish on my record, I would not be allowed to be a part of this organization. So in closing, I'd like to say thank you for listening to my presentation, some rambling. I hope I got my point across, and thank you so very much.
Thanks, Ms. Jackson. You did just fine. I also want to welcome Reverend John McVicker Sr. He's also a member of the Pardon Advisory Board, and he's the founding pastor of Christ the King Baptist Church over in Milwaukee. So welcome, John. Any questions for Ms. Jackson? Jerry?
How's your daughter?
Oh, my daughter, she is making me so very proud of her. She's 27. She's a college graduate. She's a part of the illustrious Alpha Kappa Alpha. I was able to love and give her everything that I didn't get, so I was able to tell her the do's and don'ts. And not only was I able to tell her, I was able to live it out as an example. When she worked at the various places, I was able to say, hey, Kayla, this does not belong to you. If you give anyone anyway, that's considered stealing. And one thing leads to another. And I'm so transparent and honest with her about my life and where it got me to. I just wanted to make sure that she would never experience any of the things that I had to experience. And I'd have to pat my own self on the back, because with myself and God, we were able to do it. Again, she's 27. She's a college graduate. She's gainfully employed. She's a part of the illustrious Alpha Kappa Alpha. And she's really made her mom proud.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Well, Kim, thanks for your presentation and for appearing before us. You'll hear from us in about a month or two, but hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
All right, and it looks like we're still having some issues with Donald's audio. So we will go to our next applicant. So Ronaldo. Ronaldo, are you there? All right, we will come back to Ronaldo. Jermaine Rutherford. Looks like we're striking out this morning. Could play for the Brewers with how I'm hitting this morning. Willie Glenn.
Yes, sir.
There we go. Well,
no, not striking out at all.
We just wanted to get up to our cleanup hitter here. So, Mr. Glenn, you've seen how this works. So please proceed.
Hello, my name is Mr. Willie R. Glenn Sr. I come before you to ask for a pardon. I was convicted of party to a crime around 25 years ago while I was in college in Whitewater. Yeah, I'm not gonna say wrong place at the wrong time. I was young. We were at the gym. It was cold outside. I didn't have no money. Me and my friend, we took some coats out of the gym. So a piece of it was definitely a bad decision making. There were credit cards in the coats. The guys were older than me. They took the credit cards and used the credit cards, and it was bad decisions, and it was definitely a case of 4 African-American gentlemen going into a Walmart in Rock County. I didn't get any merchandise or anything, but being with them, the other ones didn't go to our school, so the clerk just automatically got to court and was like, yeah, he was with him. I had 5 years probation, 10 days Hubert. Since then, my life has, I just been living my life just consistently doing better. I grew up on the north side of Milwaukee in the 53206 area code. At that time, I think it had they did a documentary, it had a 97% incarceration rate. So just moving forward, after I got done with the Huber, I completed my undergraduate degree in sociology with a minor in human resource management. I went on to get my master's degree in organizational management and leadership. I did use the support and guidance of my brotherhood. I am a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. I was also raised as a Mason, Blazing Star Lodge number 33. So I've tried to, throughout my life, change those different environments because of the environment that I grew up in, and just tried to do better. I think gaining, oh wow, I forgot the big part. After I graduated from college, a lot of my jobs consisted with me doing things to try to help youth better themselves and let people know you make mistakes, you trip up, things of that nature happen, but you don't have to necessarily let that tail spin you off, because I've seen it go the other way where individuals have gotten in trouble or gotten pardons, and then they can't kind of get themselves out of that situation or out of that mental rut. So after that, working in Milwaukee with Boys and Girls Clubs and different things, I came to Madison and began working at the university for the People Program. I got deeply rooted in family and community engagement through that journey. And now I am Madison's first and only African-American teen librarian.
Great. Well, thanks, Mr. Glenn. Questions from the board? Nadia?
Mr. Glenn, what is your favorite book?
And that's gonna be funny. I am not a librarian by choice, as I told you. So I believe that we all get our knowledge differently. I'm an audiobook person. So I've listened to audiobooks. As far as reading, for my upper echelon, one of my favorite books is a Clockwork Orange.
Wow.
And for my actual reading, and I guarantee all of you need to read, is the autobiography of Rick James. That is an excellent book. It will definitely show you a real story of resiliency, because like I'm saying right now, he had times where he was the highest of the high and then he was the lowest of the low. But the thing that was the common denominator is he believed in himself and he believed in his talent. Even when he was doing some of the craziest things, he believed in himself, and he knew that he could sing, and he had like a persona about himself that always just picked him up and picked others up around him.
Thank you, Mr. Glenn, and thank you for anticipating my follow-up question, which was going to be, why is it your favorite book? So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Jerry?
Two things. First of all, it never hurts to include a picture of yourself and Pastor G in your application. Just saying. Tell us about your work with Focused Interruption.
Oh, wow. My work with Focused Interruption came because when I first came here, I worked for the People Program, as I stated. And as for working for the People Program, we have two sides of Madison. There's an individual that works with the east side and an individual that works with the west side. And the program is created to be able to diversify the university. So it was, at the time, it was one of the only pipeline programs in the university to where youth could get in this program, and we support you all the way from high school, from middle school to high school. And if you are able to get admitted into the university on your own merit, they pay for a 5-year renewable scholarship. So at this time, I was at the middle school level, and there was a young man named Akeem Cooper that was in the program. Later on, me and Mr. Cooper formulated a relationship, and his father ended up being Anthony Cooper. Anthony Cooper then went on to be an integral part of Focused Interruptions. And me and Mr. Cooper had always had a good relationship. So when I began at the library, he just reached out to me and told me that I would probably make a good mentor and to give him a call. So I did when I first became a librarian. So for a few months, I did mentoring with them and worked with some families under that umbrella.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, Mr. Glenn, for appearing before us. You'll hear from us in about a month or two in terms of the outcome of the process, but I appreciate your time and the book recommendation. So have a good weekend.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna go back. I think Mr. Reichwald was able to call in. So Donald, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself. I think you can go like that. There we go. Donald, can you hear me?
All right, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you just fine. So Mr. Reichwald, thanks for appearing before the board. So I think for the next 5 minutes or so, if you could just explain how you ended up with a felony conviction, what happened afterwards, and why you think you deserve a chance to receive a pardon. And once you're done, I'll open it up to the board for questions. So please proceed.
Okay, my felony is a failure to support. It's a child support law. In 1997, my first wife filed for divorce, and it became final on November 14th of 97. And it was a very ugly divorce. And in February 13th of 03, I pled guilty to failure to support. I was sentenced to 2 years in prison and 3 years extended supervision. That sentence was stayed to 90 days in jail and 5 years probation. During my time, I had no problems in jail. I was actually a trustee. I had no problems during probation. I was always employed before, during, and after. I've never been without employment. What happened here was, it's funny because hindsight's 20/20, but I was running on emotions more than I should have been. You know, I was losing my family, and I was trying to reel it all back in my own way. 20 years later, that was the wrong way. But at that time, I didn't know any better. So I'd served my sentence. I've never been a criminal before. I've never been a criminal after. I'm just asking for a pardon because I have some grandchildren I'd like to hunt with. It was something we did when I was young. I'd like to do it with them and pass on our heritage in Wisconsin, teach them the right way. And that's it.
Thanks, Donald. Couple of questions, Donald. One, do you still owe any child support, back pay, or arrears?
No arrearages, no child support, no maintenance, no anything. I do pay interest and interest only. Now back then the law was 18% interest, so the interest was high. So I don't owe anything but interest, and I make a regular payment on that interest.
Okay. And then the other thing, just noticing, one of the things that just looking over your file that gives me a little bit of pause is, we check CCAP on everybody. And, so in addition to this no pay here, there's also a number of delinquent tax warrants that the state of Wisconsin has issued to you. Can you talk me through what's going on? Because it looks like there's one as recently as this year.
Well, I haven't checked into that one yet, but I have had tax issues, and I have been getting them all straightened out. When I was employed during this time of paying all this child support, I would drive to the East Coast and back and come home and get a $38 check. There was no money. So when you're paying child support and you're paying the taxes, there was nothing left for me. So I became delinquent on taxes just to stay alive, is what it boils down to. But I do have my taxes, issues are being taken care of. We've been working on it for a long time and have made headway on it. I don't know what the most recent tax warrant is. I don't understand what that one could be, because I've been taking care of all my taxes. I file on a regular basis.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Noble?
Yes. Thank you for being here. What is your current relationship with your former wife and your kids?
I have no relationship with my former wife, and this is what made this whole thing go so bad, is that she held the kids from me. I have never seen my children from the time they were 4 and 6 years old. I went to the courts, I went to mediation, I went to counseling, I did everything that was possible, and I live in northern Wisconsin and drove down to Waukesha County innumerable times to go to these meetings and was never allowed to see my children. So unfortunately, I do not have a relationship.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Jerry?
Yeah, well, that raises a question. You say you want to go hunting with your grandkids. Where did those grandkids come from?
I'm sorry, I was remarried in 1999 to my second marriage, which we're coming up on our 23rd anniversary, and she had children. So this is her children, not my blood children. Her children, grandchildren through the marriage.
Oh, yeah, okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thanks, Mr. Reichwald, for appearing before us. Glad we were able to work out the tech issues. You'll hear from us in about a month or two in terms of the outcome of today's process, but hope you have a good weekend.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, next we will go back to, we'll see if we have some of the people we missed earlier. Ronaldo, were you able to join us? All right, we will try again in a bit. And then Jermaine Rutherford. Jermaine, it looks like you're on, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, I'm here. You hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. All right. So I don't know if you have a camera available. There we go. All right, there we go. Well, Jermaine, thanks for appearing before us. You saw how this works in terms of the first 5 minutes in order to explain what occurred and how you end up with your felony conviction, and then what happened afterwards and why you think you've earned a chance to receive a pardon. So please proceed.
Say that again. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Well, now is your time to present your story to the board. We sent you some questions. So if you can explain, how did you end up with a felony conviction? What happened afterwards? And why do you think you should receive a pardon?
Well, I didn't get any questions. You said I was supposed to get something in the mail. I never received any questions or heard it in the mail.
Well, then we'll just start one by one. So tell me, how did you end up with a felony conviction?
What do you mean? What happened?
Yeah, what happened? Why do you have a felony?
Oh, I robbed a person.
Could you describe a little bit what happened exactly? Like,
It was a girl who set up something to rob a person. She was a stripper back when I was 18, and she set them up to rob a person. And we did something like that. It was real stupid. We did that, and wish I never did it.
and what happened afterwards once you were convicted?
I did 3 months on work release.
Okay.
And that was the first and only offense. I don't think I ever did since then.
Mm-hmm. And what's happened since then in your life? Why do you think you've earned the chance to receive a pardon?
Well, since then, I've been working for 25 years. Prior to that, the same job. Had 2 kids, got married, bought a house, and was living a good life until the besides this felony being on my record.
Okay. Questions from the board? Jerry?
Mr. Rutherford, tell me about the gun you used in the robbery.
It was a shotgun, but it wasn't loaded or nothing like that. When I did it, I wish I'd have could turned around when I went in there, but couldn't take back what we already did. Then the guy wanted to drop the charges. He just wanted his Rolex back, and the guy that was with me gave it back to him, but then the state picked up the charge.
So it was a real shotgun that you used.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thanks, Mr. Rutherford, for appearing before us. As you heard me say probably earlier, you'll hear from us in about a month or two in terms of the outcome of today's process. But I appreciate your time and hope you have a good weekend.
You too. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. So next we will be going to, I think, do we have Adam on? Adam? Adam Skirley? There we go.
Shirley?
There we go. My apologies. I run into people mispronouncing my last name too sometimes. So you've seen how this works. So if you could please describe to us how you end up with a felony conviction, what happened afterwards, and why you think you've earned a chance to receive a pardon.
Sure. And so I don't know, I was fresh out of high school, and yeah, basically long and short of it was hanging out with a bunch of friends doing dumb things for a short minute. I was with a buddy of mine and came up to breaking into a store. I didn't go in, but since you're being in the car and everything else, it's party to a crime. And when we were asked about it, I wouldn't just turn him in. So that's where the party to a crime came from. And I did 60 days in jail with 5 years probation. After that, I ended up I got into driving truck and then started my own business in 2011. And I've been doing that ever since. Yeah, I run 9 trucks, got 9 employees, and stay busy. And I really haven't been in trouble after that. Been married for 22 years. I have 3 kids, 2 graduated. And yeah, more or less just looking for a pardon business-wise, working with basically bidding contracts and things like that. Especially with the international side of it, it comes to a point where I got to lean on the other owner a little bit, show that I'm not one, just so that way it doesn't affect it anyways, things like that. So I don't know. I guess mine's pretty simple on the long and short because I only got in trouble the one time. So that's about all I got.
Questions for Adam? Noble?
Adam, you received a letter of support from a retired Dunn County deputy sheriff. How did you develop that relationship?
Oh, Barron County deputy.
Okay, it's listed as Dunn, but please go ahead.
Oh, sure. So basically he's my business partner. My brother was married to his sister, and we were just kind of looking into getting into trucking. As you know, I don't know if you're familiar with Fraxam, but we got to talking about that and getting into it. And that's how we ended up partnering up, was just off a relationship through my brother. You know, and we've been doing it ever since.
Thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thanks, Adam, for appearing before us. Again, you'll hear from us in about a month or two in terms of the outcome of the process, but hope you have a good weekend.
Yeah, appreciate it. You too.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. All right, next we will, let me see if we have our next applicant. Rayanne, are you on?
I'm here.
There we go.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, you've seen how this works, so please proceed.
So my name is Rayanne Oley. I had been charged with aiding a felon, which happened back in 2004. What I did was I ended up bailing someone out of jail who switched a bracelet with another inmate. So I bailed a different person out that shouldn't have got out. And I received 3 years probation, which I completed without any incident, like in 2 years, I believe. It's been so long ago, so I apologize. Since then, I have always been employed. I've been a CNA or caregiver for like 20 plus years. I've taken care of people with end of life, Alzheimer's, dementia, severe behavior and disabilities. I just graduated from a medical assistant associate degree in December. And I haven't been in any trouble since my offense. I've always tried to do the right thing and stay out of trouble, work hard, be a good example for my kids, my grandkids now, which I have 4. They're still young, but still. I would like to pardon because I like to pursue my career and becoming a nurse. So I would like it to maybe hopefully be easier for me to obtain my license in that profession. Also to maybe volunteer at my kids' school or my grandkids' school.
All right. Thanks for that. Questions from the board? Jerry?
Ms. Holy, you had your first child when you were 12, is that correct?
I was 13, I was 12 when I got pregnant, yes.
Yeah. And that was a daughter?
Yes.
How's she doing?
She's doing great. She is the one, she has 4 kids. She just actually completed college. I went back after 20-something years, so it's kind of been an inspiration for my kids to keep moving along in their career and educational goals. So she's working, she's full-time, and of course a full-time mom, so.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, and one other question. What happened to Jamar?
He is out. We still have contact, of course, because we have kids together, but he's doing pretty good. He does his own housing rehab, redo houses or whatever. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Well, thanks for appearing before us. And you'll hear from us in about a month or 2, but appreciate your time and hope you have a good day.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, next we will hear from Jasmine Grace. So Jasmine, there we go. Ms. Grace, you've seen how this works, so please proceed.
Yes, so in 2011, there was a situation where I worked at Midtown Walmart here in Milwaukee. It was just a dumb decision what I did. I ended up coming from having a promotion of being a cashier to going to becoming a CSM, to working like AP, where I were like apprehending like thieves and different things like that. And at that time, there was a situation where my mother was very sick. So instead of me just taking matters in my own hands and waiting on like health insurance and things to come through, I worked with money. So I was basically young and under a lot of temptation at that time, knowing that I knew better. So it was like, at that time, it was the wrong choice to make, and not knowing that it would hinder me going towards the future, not knowing the surrealness of the crime that I committed. Right now, where I'm at right now, I am doing well within my life. I have not even received a speeding ticket. I currently work for a transit company where I travel around Milwaukee County, Southeastern, different things, just taking care of clients, running them back and forth to stores, doctor's appointments, anything of their needs. I feel like I need this pardon because I'm working on now like my candy store. It's actually called Jazzy's Candyland. I do have my seller's permit, so I am working towards that as a dream. I did graduate. I have 2 children. I have a 16-year-old daughter who's doing well, and I also have a 10-year-old son. So it's like, just looking back at that, it was a horrible choice, horrible decision that I made, but I learned from it to where now it's like I'm focused on keeping my life straight afloat. So.
All right. Well, thanks, Ms. Grace. Questions from the board? All right, Jasmine, you're getting off easy today. So thanks for appearing before us. You get the award for the fastest presentation, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday and weekend.
Hey, same to you, everyone, and thanks for looking
Thanks.
into everything for me. Have a great day.
You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, I'm just going to go back do one last. I don't think we see any of the people we are missing. Well, I think just Ronaldo, but I don't think we have Ronaldo. All right, well, we will reconvene here. We're going to take a little break, so we'll be reconvening. We got done a little bit early, but because we have the times are noticed, we can't go ahead to folks who are in the room for the 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. session. So we'll reconvene here a few minutes before 10 a.m. and start that session. Thanks, everyone. All right, welcome everybody. We'll get started in just a minute. All right, well, welcome everybody. My name is Ryan Nelson. I'm chair of the Governor's Pardon Advisory Board. Today is our June 24th, 2022 hearing. I'm going to go over a few housekeeping items and then we're going to jump right into things. So first, this is an open meeting. It is available to the public, so please be cognizant of that. We are live streaming this on both YouTube and also on Wisconsin Eye, which is Wisconsin's version of C-SPAN. In order to help the board hear from the person who's called before us, and in order to maintain audio and visual quality, I ask two things of you. One, until it's your turn to speak, please mute yourself and also turn off your camera. You can do so by clicking in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. There's a little microphone icon and a little camera icon. You can click on those and that will turn your camera on or off. When it's your turn to speak, just do click on those again and you will have your camera will turn on and we'll be able, and your microphone will as well. I'm going to be calling people in the order that they are listed on the notice for this 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. session, starting with James, then Timothy, then Roberto, Mickey, Anita, Maria, Peter, Liette, and then Sherry. When it's your turn to speak, please, again, unmute yourself, turn your camera on, and then you'll have 5 minutes or so in order to answer a few quick questions. We sent those to you in the mail, but as a reminder, I want to know specifics on how you received your felony conviction, not just that you got it, not just that you're the wrong place, wrong time. I want to know what happened. Second, I want to know what happened in terms of your sentence, how it went, what happened with that. And then finally, want to know what happened afterwards and why you think you've earned a chance to receive a pardon, whether that's work, sobriety, community service, counseling, family, etc. After we hear from you, you do not need to stay on. You can jump off and go about enjoying the rest of your day and the weekend. Once we get through this morning's applicants, we will meet in closed session, and then we'll decide who to forward to the governor for further consideration. We have 5 board members present here today, so if you receive 3 out of the 5 members present, your application will be forwarded to Governor Evers, and then Governor Evers will make a final decision on whether to grant you a pardon. If you don't receive majority consideration, or if your application does go to the governor and he rejects it, you'll receive a denial letter from the board, and you'll be able to reapply in 18 months from the date of that letter. You'll receive either that pardon or the denial letter in about a month or 2 from today's hearing. So the longest wait was leading up to today. I'm going to introduce board members and then we'll start with James. So in addition to myself, we have Noble Ray. Noble is the former chief of police for the city of Madison and now does implicit bias training. We have Nadia Perez-Reyes, who is the assistant deputy secretary of the Wisconsin Department of Children and Families. We have Reverend John McVicker, who is a pastor in Milwaukee, and we have Reverend Jerry Hancock, who's the director of the Prison Ministry Project and a former county and state prosecutor. And with that, James, let's see if you're on. So James Pearson.
Yes.
All right, there you are, James. All right, James. So those 3 questions in turn, how you ended up with a felony conviction, what happened afterwards, and why you think you've earned a chance to receive a pardon. So please proceed.
Basically, what happened afterwards, I ended up going to prison. I did my time. I took programs that were provided by the DOC. And after my release, I was able to obtain my freedom back. I did all my programs, inpatient and outpatient as well. I did the outpatient programs on my own to make myself better as a father to my kids and things of that nature. I also took a lot of classes. Like I became a certified contractor. I also took fatherhood programs. I was able to obtain my driver's license, and also I got my bartender license and things of that nature. I started back working and basically making myself better as being a father. I had 2 kids. I was able to obtain and buy a home. And since then, I was working for Uber since 2017, DoorDash, Uber, Lyft, or whatever, and Grubhub. And I lost those jobs due to my record. And I've been unable to get jobs like Amazon Flex and any type of job where they do a background check, because of the check system shows me as being a violent person due to my past. My record is like 19 years old, and I ain't got in no trouble, you know. The most trouble I got into was a traffic ticket, you know. And I just would like the courts to know this and be able to look into my situation, that I am not a threat to the community. I'm just a father trying to provide for my kids and trying to keep my home, you know. And I would like you guys to look into that and be able to see that I'm a changed man. And I made some bad choices that made my life harder. And the stuff that I did in the past as an adolescent, it came back to show me that, you know, I made bad choices. And I'm just trying to provide for my kids and become a better man.
Thanks, James. Questions from the board? All right, well, thanks, James, for appearing before us. I appreciate your time. Feel free to jump off. And like I said at the beginning, you'll hear from us in about a month or 2.
Okay.
All right, next we will be going to Timothy O'Connor. So Timothy, wouldn't mind turning your camera on. There we go. Well, Tim, you saw how this works, so now's the opportunity to share your story with us, so please proceed.
Okay, great. First off, thanks for giving me the opportunity, and special thanks to Nick for answering my emails over the last couple of days. Real quick, I had just gotten out of the service back in 91, came home, went out Christmas Eve of 1991, woke up the next morning at my parents' house with a police officer standing over, asking me questions. And throughout the evening, the prior evening, Christmas Eve, I had left the bar with a friend and proceeded to strike several parked cars in my hometown. I got just dumb luck. I didn't hurt anybody, but that was the actual charge. I ended up spending 90 days in work release and 5 years of probation. Also restitution at that time, which I have completed all of that years and years ago. Since that time, I just dedicated myself to my family. When this happened, I had just started dating a girl that I was kind of ashamed to have been having to go to work release while she was out doing responsible things that she was supposed to be doing. And we ended up getting married in 1996, still together, got 3 grown kids. During the time after my release, I continuously worked, supported my family. We moved up to the Dunn County area up in Sand Creek, Eau Claire. Raised 3 kids, they're all adults now. I got a degree from UW Stoughton Vocational Rehabilitation, went to work at the PWD in the unemployment office from 06 to 15. Throughout that time, I did a lot. Just pretty much raised my family, tried to stay clean, which I did. I had no other infractions other than work-related stuff. I worked with my kids in school. I worked with my kids in scouts. I worked with my family in church. I was a part of Good News Jail and Prison Ministry for years with my church. I worked with a group that smuggled Bibles into China and spent time over there for a couple months. But the last few years, I've just been working, and we're empty nesters, just moved down to Florida. And the reason I'm looking for a pardon right now is that I'm looking to be promoted into management, which might cause me to leave the country occasionally and be part of events that might have firearms, because I work in the building trades now, and a lot of these guys are hunters. I'd really like to just not have to answer those kind of questions or have those hang me up from being promoted behind a guy that doesn't have this.
Thanks, Tim. Questions from the board? Jerry?
Mr. O'Connor, tell me about donating a kidney.
Well, a friend of mine needed one. Apparently I can live with one, so he got one.
And that happened in Chippewa Falls?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well,
That's
the surgery happened in Rochester, but
okay. Thanks.
Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thanks, Tim, for appearing before us. You heard me say this before, but you'll hear from us in about a month or two from today's hearing, but I appreciate your time.
Great, thank you very much.
You. Thanks. All right, next we will be hearing from Roberto Feliciano. So Roberto, there we go.
Hey, can you hear me?
Can hear you just fine. Well, thanks for appearing before us, Roberto. You've seen how this works, so I'm just going to hand it straight over to you. So please proceed.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Roberto Feliciano. I'm here today because in 2002, at the age of 17, I was convicted with party to a crime of armed robbery. With that being said, a little bit about it. I was driving on Highway 100 around West Dallas area with two cousins of mine and just cruising. We're young, 17. And they see two other guys smoking pot. So they decided to ask them if they had some. And they pulled over and then they grabbed the BB gun and robbed them while I stayed in the car. So with that, I was sentenced with the party to a crime for being involved. Both the Huber and the probation went well. Absolutely no trouble whatsoever. Since then, I haven't gotten in any trouble. From the ending of my sentencing till 2017, I held a lot of warehouse jobs. In 2017, I got my CDLs, and which I worked for a couple companies until last year that I started my own LLC in January 2021. So I'm now owner operator for my company. I'm a father of 6, 4 boys, 2 girls. I got married last year in Florida to my beautiful wife. We bought our first house in 2016, and we are currently looking to buy a new one. I think I should receive a pardon because I've proven by staying out of trouble for 20 years that my wrongful doings were truly a mistake. Young, stupid. I would like a pardon for myself, not only for myself, but for my children, to be a better role model, to be a good example, because I do have 6 children, and 4 of them are boys. 3 of them are actually 16, 17, and 19, and they're at that age where, you know, I give good advice and they take it, but deep inside it, who am I to tell them if I still have this behind me? You know, it's always on the back of my mind. Last but not least, I would really like a pardon, though, to maximize my earnings in the trucking industry. I'm able to haul government loads, and I'll also cross into Canada. So that will help me out tremendously.
All right, thanks, Roberto. Questions from the board? Noble?
Good morning. Good morning, Roberto.
Good morning.
You referred to when you were giving your account of what took place, you referred to it as a BB gun, which it was.
Right.
But you're charged with party to a crime to an armed robbery.
Correct.
Okay. So help me get the understanding that the state of Wisconsin has, even though it's a BB gun, what's the implications there?
Well, if I was in their shoes, obviously I wouldn't know that it's a BB gun. So that I do understand. So that being said, it's going to be charged. I do understand. I was young, but now that I'm an adult and I'm not that type of person, I do understand. When I go back and think about it, because still to this day, I think about things like that. And I think about a lot of dumb stuff, whatever. Got more mature. But yes, of course. Somebody pointing a gun at you, they don't know it's a BB gun until maybe after the sentencing or when they found out, which by the way, they got in trouble as well for having pot. But that's besides the point. But once they found out when they were in through the jail system and everything, and they found out it was a BB gun, I started thinking about that. What would they, they didn't know it was a real gun. So yes, I do understand, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Jerry?
Did you have a domestic abuse restraining order in 2007?
A restraining order in 2007?
Yeah.
No, sir.
Okay.
I want to clarify something. Still to this day, I have the same exact name as my father. So I get stuff in the letter for stuff that he's done in the past from attorneys and everything, but that is not me. So I tell people that call me, look at the birth date, look at Social Security, it does not match.
Good. All right. Thanks for clearing that up.
Yep, no problem.
Any other questions for Roberto? All right, well, thanks, Roberto, for appearing
Thank you
before
guys
us. You'll hear from us in a month or two.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate
Thanks.
it. Bye.
All right. Next, we'll be hearing from Mickey Critton. So Mickey, see, there you are.
Hey,
All
good
right.
morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, you've seen how this works, so I'm just going to hand things right over to you. So please proceed.
Okay, thank you. I'm kind of nervous right now.
Don't worry about it. Everybody is. So go ahead.
Okay, I earned my felony December 2008. Possession of a firearm. That day it was one of my old friend's birthday, and we was all out just drinking, hanging out, smoking marijuana, just doing negative stuff, thinking we was having a good time. We ended up at a spot that's like an after hour, like it's a big house. We were in the basement, a big party, about 30 people. Was out just drinking, having a good time. And I didn't have my license at the time. I went there with a buddy. So my buddy, they all left to get some more cigars because like I just said, we was all smoking marijuana, and we end up, he getting back, we end up leaving. I got pulled over. I started driving. I got pulled over in his vehicle, and the police found a firearm on the driver's side, right under the seat. So we all went to jail that night. I posted bond. My wife did. She posted bond for me. And my friend that I was going to the party with, he was on parole. So he ended up staying for about a couple months. But we all got charged. The two guys' charges got dropped. I was a driver, so they charged me. At that time, my mind frame of the no snitching, the no, trying not to hold an honor in the streets. That's where my mind frame was at. So I had a chance to say, hey, this is not my firearm. This is his. I chose not to say that to the officer and the district attorney because I wasn't putting myself first, I didn't value like my family, my wife. I had one kid at the time. It hunts me to this day because that's a sick way to think, you know. Since my while I was incarcerated, I had a chance to go to a challenge incarceration program. It's boot camp. It's a 6-month program. I completed that program successfully, earned my release in 2011, May. I got my job back with the parks 7 days after I was released. It was a seasonal position. So of course I got laid off in, September. I started school for carpentry at MATC. I completed that course with honors. I have previous history and experience with residential and commercial carpentry. So I just had to get a certificate so I can get on the contractors that I was working for, insurance and payroll. After that, I went back to the parks the next season, earned my CDLs. I got a Class B endorsement. Got laid off again, went to the highway department, Milwaukee County Highway Department. 2 months after I got my CDLs. I've been there ever since. Right now, I'm currently a supervisor for the highway department. I've been here since 2012. I also have 3 kids, 15, 8, and 5, adorable. I'm married to my wife. Just trying to think, because I completed AODA, cognitive intervention thinking, rational thinking. I also participated in AA 12-step numerous of times. I haven't had a problem with drinking or smoking since my release. I just had to go forward straight with the problem and tell myself and admit to myself I had a problem, you know. I had completed the parenting course. Well, that's a course that's ongoing because every day, like I said, I got a 15, 8-year-old and a 5-year-old. It's something new every day. So that's something that I'm gradually learning still every day. I'm gonna answer these questions. I haven't had any infractions while I was on parole or while I was in prison. I remember a guy when I was in prison, I got offered the challenge incarceration program. Another inmate was like, "Hey, why don't you save that for the rest of your time?" He said, "Because I know you're going to come back." And the way that he was thinking, it kind of, it did disgust me because I'm like, man, I'm never coming back. It's not for everybody, you know. I'm mad that at myself that I had to take me going to prison to value my freedom, value my kids, value my wife, and just society, period. I earned that felony because I participated. I put myself in a position. No one put a gun to my head. I could have not went to that party that night. I could have stayed home with my wife at the time. I earned it. I also earned my release from challenge incarceration program. You know, it was hard. I had to build, I got broken down to build myself up. I remember each level, when you complete the challenge incarceration program, you got to interview. You got to interview each level, each step you get closer to graduating. I was so nervous. One of the sergeants told me to stand on one leg because you got to be in parade rest when you interview. He said, inmate Critton, stand on one leg to get his interview, because I was just so nervous. So I'm trying to mentally get myself there. So like I'm hearing myself stutter over words and everything now because I am nervous. Me and my wife actually purchased an investment property last year. My wife and I are trying to open up a daycare and daycare transportation for kids, first shift, second shift. We turning that income property into a daycare. And I am not allowed to get put on the ownership of the daycare because of my felony. And when I earned my Class A endorsement for my CDL, I was going for my hazmats because it was more money that if you get endorsements like that with the county and on your license, it's more, you get more benefits, pay raise, everything, but I got denied for hazmat also. So it's just stuff that's come back and haunt you. You know, I made a decision, you know, I'm sorry, you know, it was only a possession of a firearm. I can't say only because it was victims in that situation. The victims were the community, the taxpayers. I mean, just a ripple effect, just thinking and breaking everything down. My family, just knowing one simple decision I made that it'll affect me for the rest of my life. I mean, that's a disgusting way to think, I'll be down on myself. I talk to my son, I got a 15-year-old boy. I let him know about decisions, hanging with guys, influences, it's real, it's real. My dad, he was in prison for majority of my life. He's out of prison now when I turned 28. We have a good relationship, but when my kids talk to me and they ask me about how I went to prison and my felony, I keep an open door. I try to be open book because I want them to learn off my mistake. So I have to be honest about it. I'm not going to backtrack. I'm not going to minimize anything. That's what happened, I am an assistant coach for my son's basketball team. It's called the Young Bucks. It's in the greater Milwaukee. Me and my wife, we actually just got pre-approved to purchase another property. We are currently out looking now for another property. I'm trying to think.
Well, that's good, Mickey. I'll open up for questions. You're very thorough. So questions from the board. Well, like I said, you're very thorough. So thanks for appearing before us and sharing your story with us, Mickey. You'll hear from us in about a month or two from the data from today, but hope you have a good weekend.
Hey, I appreciate you and I appreciate you guys' time. All right.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
All right. Next, we will be hearing from Anita Robertson. So Anita, let me see.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, Anita, you've seen how this works. So if you could just please proceed in terms of explaining how you end up with your felony conviction, what happened afterwards, and why you think you've earned a chance to receive a pardon. So please proceed.
Okay, so thank you guys for the opportunity to even allow me to get this far to even apply for a pardon. So back in 2007, I worked for a corporation, and at that corporation, I took orders for them. And as I was taking the orders, I started taking orders for people that I knew, and I would give them discounts. So as a result of giving those discounts, I was charged with theft in a business setting. I ended up in 2009 pleading guilty. And so I got 6 months of work release and 5 years of probation. In June of 2014, I completed my probation and was completely off of probation. I did have to take, I think it was cognitive thinking courses during that time as well. Since then, I believe I deserve to have a pardon because I am very community oriented. I started working with children afterwards. At first, I was working for a company for about 8 years doing before and after school, and I just saw the need. Like I always try to figure out like where did I go wrong? How did I end up where I ended up? And I realized that a lot of times kids don't know what's next. So I started a business called Next Generation Day Camp. And one of the questions I always ask the kids is what's next? Like, is it are you going to be the next NBA player? Are you going to be the next scholar? Like, what are you going to do next so that you don't end up in a situation like I did? I also volunteer at my church as a youth coordinator. I received my bachelor's degree from UW Parkside. I went to UW Platteville, got my after school credential. I'm currently at MATC getting an administrative credential all to support the child care that I do. I do only work with older kids. So I work with kids as I'm licensed for 3-year-olds, but I don't accept too many 3-year-olds. But 3 to 14, I have children that are out, that have aged out of my program. However, I still allow them to attend because I see what's going on in my community, and I don't want them to end up how I did. It is so easy to end up there and don't know where you're going to go. So as a result, I have kids that's 16, they're still there. They're enrolled. I just put a couple of them, I paid for them to go to driver's ed because I see a lot of kid boys out here, and I feel like a way that I can prevent that is by letting them learn how to drive, help them get their license so they can have that experience where they know what's next in life. Okay, now you aged out of my program, but you can still do other things that's positive. I help them get jobs, whether it's mowing grass. A lot of them mow grass, especially young men. I have them mowing grass throughout the community, and then I have them clean up the community, and we're on 18th and Atkinson. So you can see us cleaning up the community, and I pay them. Just to really to keep them out of trouble. And that's my way to really try to redeem myself, because I mean, I should have known better, but at that time I was young, wasn't thinking about like the consequences, didn't think I was hurting anybody because it was discounts. But now I have my own business, and to think if an employee gave a discount for my business, it would be hurting my business and the kids and the families that I serve. So overall, I do believe that I should be granted a pardon. I have kids now, a real different outlook on life than I did back then. I really didn't know what was next, but now I think I got it together.
Thanks, Ms. Robertson. Questions from the board? Noble?
Ms. Robinson, first of all, thank you for being here this morning. That's a pretty sizable restitution. And
Yep.
it was close to $60,000. Have you been able to pay that?
I think I paid almost half of it off. And part of, I'm actually on a direct payment plan, so they just automatically take it off. And I think about half of it is gone.
Okay. And just one other follow-up, and this is out of curiosity. Did you come up with the name Next Generation Day Camp? And
Yes.
what was behind that?
Like, to be honest, I was gonna name it, it's a quote from Tupac, that there's no hope for the future, like a hope for the future without the kids. And then I thought about, okay, that might be a little too much. So then I was like, next generation, because like I said, I always have the question, like, what's next? And this generation is the next generation that's coming up, and they just have to have something. So I was only, I think 20 when I was actually doing the discounts, which is really young. And you think you're grown at that age, but you're really not. You still learning and developing. So that next generation, I came up when I switched from Hope from the Future.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thanks for appearing before us, Anita. You've heard me say this before, but you'll hear from us in about a month or two from today's date in terms of the outcome of the process, but appreciate your time. So have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks. All right, next we'll hear from Maria Mullins. So Maria, thanks for appearing before us. You've seen how this works, so please proceed.
Sorry, I apologize. I'm on mute.
No, that's fine.
So my charges for my felony were misappropriate use of ID. And I was charged with taking out library books. I actually checked out library books with somebody else's card. I can honestly tell you, I don't have all the details during this time frame in my life. I was experiencing quite a few mental health issues. I had came from a very abusive relationship when I moved to Wisconsin. And none of it is by any means an excuse. I just context more so behind my life. And my life, I can honestly say, has been quite challenging over the years. I did try to provide some of that in my application. What I ended up receiving was 60 days confinement as well as 3 years probation. And Sorry, guys, give me 1 second. I feel like my screen, I'm not looking at you guys because the other camera picked up. So I'm like looking off to the side. So I hope that doesn't bother anybody, but I
just
received
fine.
60 days confinement, 3 years probation. I paid restitution. I also wrote an apology letter to the victim. Sorry, I don't have the question. I'm so very nervous.
No, that's fine. Maria, what happened after you received the felony conviction? Just walk me through that.
So while I was incarcerated in jail, I was on a ton of medication prior to being under psychiatric evaluation in a Chapter 51. When I went into jail, I was advised by the guard who saw me going in and out for Huber to attend classes in college, stated to me that I didn't have to take the medication if I didn't want to. For a very long period of time, it was mandated that I had to take medication. It was tested on a monthly basis to make sure it was in my system and I was taking it. This was the first opportunity that I was able to get off the medication and kind of see life more clearly in the eyes that I once saw life in. I was able to gain my associate's degree in computer programming. I graduated from Gateway Technical College. Upon graduation, my instructor had tried to get me a position through Delta Dental. I was rejected because of my felony. I then proceeded to try to get numerous other positions. I was rejected a job for the County of Milwaukee for I can't think of the program, the state programs, basically the state benefits. I would have been doing computer programming behind that. I had an offer letter rescinded for that. So at that point in time, I decided to try to continue back and go back to getting more education, thinking that if more time passed, I was told if more time passed that I would be able to hopefully gain gainful employment. I then returned back and got I returned back to school and got my bachelor's degree in information communication technology. Upon graduating there, I was offered a job at Concurrency, and that job was then rescinded again upon finding out that I had a felony. At that point in time and during this time frame, I had taken employment through Walworth County, working for Lakeshore Library Systems, actually teaching computer classes at the local libraries. I would teach computer classes to homeschool students, as well as teach people how to make resumes, adult education, things of that sort. I did that for a number of years. Funding started getting cut. And so I had to make a decision. I have 2 children I have to support. And so I decided to try again to go back into the workforce. I took a temporary position at a company right around this corner from my house. And I started a job in supply chain as an administrative buyer. I fell in love with supply chain. I went back to school again. I got my degree in business administration. I was able to gain an internship in 2017 in another company, and eventually able to gain full-time employment in 2018 at another company. And currently I am working as a demand analyst 2 at a corporation in the greater Milwaukee area, Brookfield area. I have spent my time doing nothing but educating my children, having them learn from my mistakes, feeling remorseful for everything I have ever done wrong in my life. I really appreciate this opportunity to even get a chance to be recognized as somebody who can be rehabilitated. More so for me, this is an opportunity to forgive myself and to be recognized as somebody who could do better. It's been very hard the past number of years. I want to obtain my real estate license. I hope to provide financial support and some financial freedom for my children. And it's one of those things that lingers over your head of, are you going to get rejected? There's been a lot of rejection in my life. And so I'm taking this step in hopes to be recognized as a person in the state of Wisconsin who is rehabilitated, who can be a law-abiding citizen, and who can do better. And I'm very sorry.
Thanks, Maria. Questions from the board? Jerry?
Maria, one of the things that motivated you during your conviction was to regain custody of your son. How's he doing?
I am so proud to say so amazing. He was the recipient of the All in Milwaukee Scholarship last year. He just received the HPGM Scholarship, the Hispanic Professionals of Greater Milwaukee Scholarship this year. He's attending UW-Madison. He's part of Delta Sigma Phi. He tried out for the rowing team, didn't make it. He wasn't tall enough. He has a 3.2 GPA. He's come strides. My son was taken from me during a time where I was under mental health issues. I was actually in the hospital under the care of the psychiatric doctor when my proceeding went on for my son's father basically took me to court to try to gain custody while I was in the hospital. And so I couldn't actually even fight for my child at that time. And I was able to gain him back, and he's so grateful. I'm so grateful. I mean, he's accomplished so much. I'm so proud of him.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thanks, Maria, for appearing before us. I know this isn't an easy forum to talk about these issues, but no need to apologize whatsoever.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Well, have a good day. All right, next we will be hearing from Peter Billiard. So Peter, looks like you've been patiently waiting. So if you wouldn't mind just turning your camera on. There we go. Well, Peter, you've seen how this works a couple of times. So now's your opportunity. So please proceed.
Thank you all very much for this opportunity. I appreciate it. I have to tell you, I made a funny little mistake this morning. I watched a half an hour or more of the first session this morning because I'm on the East Coast. And I forgot that there was a 1 hour time difference.
Yeah. Glad you can join us now. So go ahead.
I wouldn't miss this for anything. 51 years ago, I committed the crime of burglary. I went into a store at nighttime through the roof, stole items, and then I left the same way. Soon thereafter, I was spotted by the police and arrested. I received a felony conviction, 2 years probation, and I had to pay restitution. I thought I was an honorable person, but in truth, at the time, I applied it selectively. My upbringing and my home life was in all ways, I thought, normal and supportive. My parents were good people. They did a good job of raising my 3 brothers and me. But I broke the law when I was 21, got caught, and had to pay the consequences. It was a wake-up call that I was headed in the wrong direction. I had betrayed myself, the community, my wife, and the law. Since then, I've corrected that type of thinking and behavior. Plus, I've worked to become an honorable and a person of honor and integrity. I've had no other further brushes with the law on the wrong side of the law. And things that I've done since then in the commercial business condominium complex in which I have my business, I've served on the board of directors from 1984 to 2015, and then as president of the board from 2007 to 2015. And my business has been located here since 1982 to the present. And for 13 years, I volunteered with the local senior services friendly visitor program, making weekly visits to an elderly shut-in woman up until the point where she passed away in 2002. I spearheaded the creation of a state chapter of the American Association of Media Photographers, a national group of photographers, and then served as a board member, as president, program director, and also newsletter editor. And that was from 1993 to 2006. I also worked with the Glastonbury Education Foundation on their board of directors, and also organized fundraisers from 2009 to 2013. I was active in the Glastonbury Chamber of Commerce, first as a member, then as an ambassador, then a board member, then an executive board member from 2004 to 2017. And they selected me as Business Person of the Year in 2005. In the town where I live, I've organized the Burroughs Hill Road cleanup on Saturday mornings in 2001, 2003, 2005, and 2007 of local residents who would all come together, and we would walk both sides of the length of the street, about 2.5 miles long, pick up roadside trash, and then later take it to the dump. The Marie S. Ballard Sons Trust, a family trust, I've served as the trustee of that to represent my 3 brothers and me since 2009 to the present. And my mother, our mother, Marie S. Ballard, I served as her durable power of attorney. And then when she passed away, after she passed away in 2012, I served as fiduciary and administrator for the State Court of Probate. I've also volunteered as a guest lecturer and PowerPoint presenter on photography and light and perception at the Charter Oak International Academy in 2013, Manchester Community College in 2014, and then at the Pathways Academy of Technology and Design in 2017. And I would like to receive a pardon because I would like to run for public office and then serve the community in which I live. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Peter. Questions from the board? Jerry?
Peter, when you committed the burglary, you were a student at Beloit College, right?
Correct.
And did you go on to graduate?
Yes, I graduated in April of 1972.
Okay. And you were married at the time?
Yes, I got married very young.
And did your marriage survive?
It did. It did. We were married in 1971, April of 1971. My burglary was August 71. And then we were married for another 8 years after we moved to the East Coast.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, well, thanks, Peter, for appearing before us. You'll hear in terms of the outcome in about a month or two from today, but appreciate your time.
Well, thank you very much. Hope you all do well. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right, next we'll hear from Leette Oliver. There we go.
Hello.
Hello. Well, thanks for appearing before us. You've seen how this works, so please proceed.
Okay, so my name's Leette Oliver. I had caught my felony 3 days after I had turned 18. It was for a felony. They did it as felony fleeing and eluding. It was winter formal night. I was with my boyfriend and I was driving and we were getting stopped and pulled over. And at the time I did not pull over. He was telling me like, don't pull over, don't pull over. And back then, I just did what he said. I just kept going. I didn't have a reason to keep driving. I'd never been in trouble in my life, but obviously he did. So I kept going. And it turned out, I turned myself in after that. And it was just a big thing. I gave his name. I cooperated. It was a scary situation I've never been in. And here we are 13 years later. I'm 32 and I still deal with it every day. I mean, I feel like I'm in a way different position. Like I said, it happened 3 days after I turned 18. I was a kid. I was a little girl. Here, I'm a mature woman. And for the last 13 years, even filling it out on applications, doing everything. I always put it on there. I never have hid it. And that's probably a lot of the reasons why I did get some jobs, because I always disclosed it first and I always put it out there. Yeah, it's really like embarrassing and a shame, especially the platform that I'm on now. It's just like, I can't even believe I did that. Like, I would never do that. I have never been in trouble even since I was 18, never. So it was like, a one then done. I learned from it. It was definitely a mistake. I take full accountability. I should never listen to him. He was an idiot. He doesn't even exist anymore to me. So it's like, you know, you do dumb things. And so and then I got sentenced. I did 3 months in the county jail, and then I had to do 2 years probation. During those 3 months, I was on Huber because I was in high school. So I was going back and forth from jail to school, jail to school. I did end up graduating with my high school diploma. After that, I tried to get it an expungement. I believe it was 2 or 3 times I've tried. Apparently, the judge tells me that it wasn't stated during my sentencing, so therefore I did not qualify. And even with that, I was young. Like I said, I gotta have a public defender. They should have advocated for me, I felt like, to make sure that could have been done, maybe like a term and a condition, like, okay, when she completes high school or whatever the case, this can be expunged when she's 25 or however it goes. But I just didn't have that advocation for me, and I really didn't know. And here we are, and I couldn't even get an expunged. So I kept trying. They denied me again, and then I came across the program helping with pardons, and that's how I even ended up applying. Here we are today. I have completed a nursing program. I have my LPN. I am going to school now for my BSN. So I'm still able to do things, but I feel like there has been some barriers. I really want to do travel nursing. There's a lot of good jobs and good agencies I would like to be with, and I'll get hired. And then when they do the background is when I get denied, because my experience and the education is there. So I already know that is the reason. So I just feel like it's just been holding me back from a lot of opportunities that I really would like to take. Everything, I fit the resume perfect until they go to my background. Even now, even still today, even though it's so old, they still hold it against you, even with nothing else, you know, on your record. So that is everything. I did open a business. I became a state of Wisconsin instructor for CBRF. So I teach all the CBRF classes to work in the healthcare and certify them, put them on the state registry. And I made a business out of that. Let me see, I'm gonna just make sure I'm covering everything. Okay, yeah, that's it. That's basically my life now. So I work and I have a business on the side. I have kids, and I'm just really trying to push forward. Like I said, I would like to travel. I would like to take other nursing opportunities. And that's really where my head is at as far as getting a pardon. I just want better living, better jobs, better everything. I don't want anyone to look at me about my past any longer, because that's not me.
Thanks, Leah. Questions from the board? Noble?
Yeah.
I guess it's still morning, so good morning, Ms. Oliver.
Good
Just a
morning.
quick question for this is more clarification. At the time that you were stopped for this operating motor vehicle, fleeing and eluding, did you have a valid driver's license?
I don't think I did, no.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
I want to say I did not have a license at that time.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thanks, Leah, for appearing before us. You'll hear from us in about a month or two, but appreciate your time and hope you have a good day.
All right, thanks for your guys' time.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right, next we will hear from Sherry Bond. So Sherry.
Hi.
Hi, all
Can you
right.
see me there?
Yeah, we can see you just fine.
All right.
And more importantly, we can hear you just fine. So Sherry, you've seen how this works, so please proceed with sharing your story with us, and then I'll open it up for questions.
Okay, great. So I have several felonies. The first one was in 1991 at Racine County. More of my felonies are retail theft, bail jumping, failure to appear in court, and taking an owner's taking a car without an owner's consent. So back in 1989, my father had passed away, and I was really close to him, and I did not know how to handle his passing. So I had met up with some folks that was a little bit more advanced in the streets than I was, and they taught me how to still take people items that was not mine, and that's what I did. And obviously I wasn't good at it because I got caught so many times and they didn't. So I'm gonna just speed it up a little bit. So my father passed in '89, then my mom passed, and I went to prison, Chichita, for a couple years. I came home and my mom passed away in 2002, and I promised her at her casket that I'll never go back to the streets and I won't do anything bad. And I hold it to that promise. Since me being home, I have opened up adult family group homes and CBRFs. I have helped at least 100 plus women that has mental health facilities. The name of my first group home was Jabaz Transitional Living Center, committed to restoring lives. I was there for 10 years. I lived on site with my clients, me and a couple of my pets. I had 2 small Maltese poodles. I had got burnt out. I was asked, how do you get burnt out? And you have a passion for something, it gets exhausting. And I had stopped for a year. And then I started back up another adult family home, which is called Riley's Adult Family Home now. And we have group homes in Milwaukee also, and we expanded to Beloit, Wisconsin. I went for my nursing degree at MATC and also at Bryan Stratton, and couldn't get my nursing degree because of my felonies, convictions in the past. I'm just going to look here quickly. I tried to do as much as I could to give back to society. When you're sitting around a table with the elected officials and these other women that has degrees, and you like, oh my God, if they only knew my past, would they invite me into these meetings, And I've held that halo over my head for years. And I just want to say, whether if I get the partner or not, I just really appreciate this opportunity, this time, this date, just to talk to you guys about my past. So we expand, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place, you guys. So we expanded to Beloit, Wisconsin. We have 4 group homes here. We have 7 in Milwaukee. I presently live in Beloit, Wisconsin. We have bought, I think, 13 properties under Riley's Adult Family Home. I do have my doctorate degree in theology. So I had to stop going to school for nursing because I couldn't become a nurse with my felony. I hold license. I had a license for a clinical supervisor for training. Also for Wisconsin DHS Family Service, I do have my license, registered license for CNA, Wisconsin DHS Center for Directory, Wisconsin DHS Center for administration as well. I do teach CBRF training for our company here, Riley's Adult Family Home. Also CPI, which is a non-crisis intervention training for staff as well, how to de-escalate a situation when you're dealing with a mental health client. Medication, fire safety, things of that nature when it comes to adult family home. I think that's pretty much it. You guys have my resume, my application. Why do I want to have a partner? I just want to feel free. I just want to be able to sit at a table and just feel comfortable. knowing that my past has been eliminated to a certain extent. And that was one of my goals, honestly, before I pass away, was to get a pardon. So that's
Thanks,
pretty
Sherry.
much. Thank you.
Questions from the board? Jerry?
Yes.
Ms. Bond, before you got convicted in 1994, you were in a lot of trouble all the time.
Yes, sir.
What turned your life around?
My mom passing away, and so I was when my mom passed in 2001. No, I'm sorry, she passed away September 2002. I had promised her at the casket that I'll never go back to prison. And at the age of 36 years old, I had opened up my first group home. And so let me say this, sir. When I was in prison, I had contact with a lot of women that were homeless and had nowhere to go. So my first initial job that I wanted when I came home was to how to open up a group home for prison women. But obviously I couldn't get a contract for the women that was coming home from prison. So I got a contract for the mental health women. But yeah, you know, you have that light bulb and you get old and you're like, hey, this gotta stop. You're not good at it. You know, I mean, you know, this gotta stop at some point. And when my mom died, she was my security blanket, and that was it for me. You're welcome.
Noble?
Yeah, thank you. Just kind of a follow-up from Jerry's question, and that is, you indicated in your application that you had a pretty serious addiction. What steps did you take to deal with that addiction?
So I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. In 2000, no, that was the cigarettes. I just quit smoking cigarettes. I know a lot of people go to 12 steps and things of that nature. And that wasn't for me. I took one step and it was Jesus, and I just quit. Honestly, I did not go to any programs, any 12 steps. I just needed one step, and I fell in love with God, and God revealed a lot of things to me, who I am and what I could do. And that's what happened to me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right, well, thanks, Ms. Bond, for appearing before us. Appreciate your time and hope you have a good weekend, and we'll let you know how this plays out in the next month or two.
All right, sounds good. Thank you guys for your time. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, and that concludes our morning sessions. So we have listed on the open meeting notice going into closed session for the purposes of considering specific applications and personal histories, among other reasons. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Nadia seconds. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, the motion passed. All right, well, welcome everybody. Today we are now in the afternoon session of the June 24th, 2022 hearing of the Governor's Pardon Advisory Board. My name is Ryan Nelsestra. I am chair of the Pardon Advisory Board. Along with me today on the board, we have Noble Ray, who's the former chief of police for the city of Madison. We have Nadia Perez-Reyes, who is the assistant deputy secretary of the Wisconsin Department of Children and Families. And then we also have the Reverend John McVicker, who's the founding pastor of Christ the King Baptist Church in Milwaukee. I'm going to go through a few housekeeping items and then we'll jump right into things. So first, we are live streaming this on both YouTube and Wisconsin Eye. Therefore, in order to help out the members of the board and with streaming, I'm asking you to do two things. One is mute yourself so we can hear the person talking. When I call you up, you can unmute yourself. And 2, it's easier for the board if you turn your camera off until it's your turn to prepare or to speak to the board. You can do both of those things. There's 2 little icons in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. One is a microphone icon. The other one's a camera icon. Just tap on those. It'll turn your microphone and camera respectively off. In addition to that, how we're going to be doing this is I'm going to be calling folks up in the order that they're listed on the open meeting notice for today. So we will first be hearing from Brandon, then Taran, then Oscar, then Jasmonte, then Nicholas, Kelly, Ronald, Robert, Johnny, and then John. When I call your name, please turn your camera on, unmute yourself. You'll have 5 to 7 minutes to briefly and concisely answer the questions that we sent to you before today's hearing. In short, we want to hear how you ended up with your felony conviction. We want specifics, not just that I was convicted or arrested. We want to know what you did. We also want to know how your sentence went and then what happened afterwards, and why you think you've earned the chance to receive a pardon. After you get done speaking, I will open it up to the board to ask you questions. They may or may not have questions for you. And then once you get done with the questions, feel free to hop off. Everyone does. You can go about enjoying the rest of your day. After we get through hearing from everybody today, the board will go into closed session. During closed session, we will be making a decision on whose application to forward to the governor for final consideration. If you receive majority support from the board members present, so we have four board members, that means 3 of us, your application will go to Governor Evers, and he'll make a decision on whether or not to pardon you. If he decides not to pardon you, or if the board decides not to forward your application, you will receive a denial letter from the Pardon Advisory Board stating as such, and you can reapply for a pardon 18 months from the date of that letter. You'll receive either the pardon or the denial letter within about 1 to 2 months from the date of today's hearing. And so with that, I will, Brandon, wait, if you could just turn your camera on and unmute yourself. You are lucky first applicant to appear before the board for the afternoon session. So like I just said, Brandon, explain to us how you ended up with your felony conviction, what happened afterwards, and why you believe you've earned a chance to receive a pardon. So Brandon, please proceed.
Well, thank you for taking the time to hear me. In 2004, I was deployed to Afghanistan. I was injured while on deployment. I ended up coming home in 2008. I had a second torn bicep. I had surgery. The doctor prescribed me 10 milligram hydrocodone to take every 4 hours. I ended up getting severely addicted to that, and it led to me starting to basically steal from the place of employment I was at to facilitate obtaining more hydrocodone when I couldn't get it from my doctor. I ended up getting arrested, pled no contest to a felony retail theft. I got 2 years of probation. I served that out of state. I went to Arizona where my father, who's a nurse, to detox and get clean. Since then, I've gone back to school. I work as a medical lab tech, and I've been doing that since about 2014. Okay. I'm wanting to get the pardon basically because I'm on the right path, and I believe the pardon will help me to continue on that path and allow me to re-enter society on the right side.
Great, thanks, Mr. Waite. Questions from the board? All right, well, you get off easy today, Mr. White. Thanks for sharing your story with us and for filling out, being thorough with your application. Like I said at the beginning, you'll hear from us in about a month or two, but I appreciate your time and hope you have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, next we'll hear from Taran Govind. So Taran, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself and turning your camera on, there you go. Well, you've now seen how this works, so now's your opportunity to appear before the board. So as you just saw it, the next 5 minutes or so are yours to share your story with us. So please proceed.
Yes, sir. Thank you. First of all, I would like to just, first of all, thank you guys for allowing me the opportunity to come before you guys on today. In 2000, I was convicted of theft, movable property. I worked at JCPenney store in Northridge Mall. Started working there, met a guy in short that kind of showed me how to, kind of manipulate the register, charge things and take money from the register and things like that. Ended up getting caught with that. Basically, bad decision at the workplace. I was pulled over because I had a court date that I irresponsibly missed. Ended up having a bench warrant. Got pulled over, got arrested. Did 7 days in jail. Ended up being convicted in 2000. Paid full restitution. Requested what the store lost. The store lost, and I paid full restitution. Did a year supervised, paid. At that time, probation was paid supervision. Did that for a year, paid the full restitution off. And since then, I've had no police contacts. I've in 2001 was ordained and as a minister, licensed and ordained as a minister, and started getting my life on track. Been a musician for all of my life. Currently, before me and my wife relocated to Texas in December, I've been an active member at my church, Greater New Birth in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Bishop R.J. Bird is my pastor. I've been a member at his church for going on 20 years. Been a musician for over the past 15 years. And just at this point in my life, I have made some bad decisions. And a lot of people have a lot of things on their bucket list to go to New York. Some people want to go to Vegas. Some want to go to Hawaii. I had 2 things on my bucket list that I wanted to right my wrongs that I did in my life. One of those were go back to school and get my high school diploma. I did that, accomplished that in 2015. And this was another one on my goal. I'm a very, strong man of faith, and I just believe in the timing of God. And this came at the right time. I did my paperwork. I did everything I had to do to get before you guys. And I'm just so appreciative for the opportunity that I was granted today.
Great, thanks, Taran. Questions from the board? All right, well, thanks, Taran. As you heard me just say, you'll hear from us in about a month or two, but I appreciate your time and hope you have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, and also we have another board member joining us, Jerry Hancock. Jerry is the director of the Prison Ministry Project and a former state and county prosecutor. All right, next we will be hearing from Oscar Walker. See, Oscar, are you on? Yep. All right. Well, Oscar, you've had the benefit of seeing how this goes twice, so now is your opportunity. So please proceed.
Yes, sir. In 1994, me and an old friend of mine, we thought that we would go out and break into cars. So that night we sat out and we thought we were going to take some car radios, and that's what we done. We seen one car. I walked up to the car. I continued to break the back window. And at that time I would step back and my friend would go in and do some damage to the steering column to get the car started.
Once he gets the car started, I will follow in my car and meet him around the alley. And once we get to the car, we would take the music out of the cars and put it in my car. Once we were done with that car, we went to the next car. And we did the same thing. We continued to take the radio out, and we took the kicker box out of the back of the trunk. Went back to my car where all the goods were. At that time, my co-defendant started to come towards me with the car where my car was parked. Squad car came around the corner, spotted him in the car because a neighbor had called and said that we were breaking into cars and stripping the cars behind their house. The officers grabbed my co-defendant and myself, placed us under arrest after looking into my car and seeing that I had the merchandise from the vehicles in my car. I took total responsibility for what I've done, told the officer what we done. I was placed on probation for 3 years. I had to pay restitution. And that 3-year period was up. I did not complete my restitution payments. So therefore I was extended until I finished paying that restitution off. That restitution went from 3 years being paid off to a total of 5 years. So I was extended 2 extra years until I paid that restitution off. After I completed my restitution and my probation of the 5 years, 7 years passed and I created another crime, which was intent to deliver cocaine of 5 grams of cocaine. What happened in this case was I didn't have a job at the time. I was looking for work. Went to everybody, asked them for a few dollars here and there. No one had it. Some gave $20. It still wasn't enough. So I asked another friend that I knew if he can help me in any way. And he gave me some drugs to sell. He told me I didn't have to pay him anything back. So when I went to that friend's house, that friend was leaving after he gave me what he gave me, and I asked him would he drop me off. He dropped me off. On the way of dropping me off, that friend stopped at another house. He stopped at the house. He went inside. He did not come out for about 10 minutes. So as I was waiting on the friend to come out, I looked around, was getting nervous, like, hey, come on, are you coming? Are you gonna drop me off? He never came. So as I was looking around, I seen cars pulling up while I was sitting on the passenger seat of his car. Officers jumped out of the car, placed me under arrest, pulled me out of the car, placed me under arrest, took me into the same house that my friend went into. As I went inside the house, I seen my friend on the floor handcuffed with about 3 other people that were on the floor handcuffed. I was placed on the floor with them and told to be quiet. And at that time, my friend told me, hey, he set me up. I said, who set you up? He said, that's why all of us are here. The guy that I know set all of us up. So the guy inside the house was calling people that he knew that were selling drugs. And they would come to the house where he was, and the officers were inside the house and would grab everyone. So after this case, I was granted 1 year supervision on probation. I did my probation. I found a job. I got my CDLs at Lakeside School Buses. I worked there for a while. And after I got my CDL, I was still fighting this case for the cocaine. The verdict came back for the cocaine, and I was released from Lakeside School Buses after the conviction. And when I was at Lakeside School Buses, I was there as a bus driver, became a trainer, became a supervisor at Lakeside School Buses. I left Lakeside School Buses after I was let go. I worked several other jobs. I worked for Latasha Learning Enterprise, J&M Trucking. I worked for SDC. I also got a new job at Joy Farm School Buses, where I became a driver there. I notified the owner of my background, everything that I went through, my drug case, my car theft cases. And he said, you know what? I know who you are. I know where you came from. You came from Lakeside. I know what you're going through. I'm gonna give you a shot as a driver. He gave me a shot as a driver. And within a month and a half, I became the general manager and supervisor of Lakeside School Buses, Joy Farm School Buses. So after Joy Farm, I hadn't looked back. Started to get sick while I was at Joy Farm School Buses. I was there for about 9, 10 years as a GM and general manager. So as I began to get sick, my kidneys started to fail. Lakeside School Buses went out of business. Therefore, I was placed on kidney dialysis, where I remained for the last 8 years. I received a kidney transplant last year. Through the grace of God, I got that kidney. Through the grace of God, I turned my life around. Why did I do the things I did, those crimes? I did those crimes because I didn't have the money. I had younger kids that I was trying to take care of. That wasn't the way. The right way was to find a job, stay on the job, and do what I was supposed to do. The only way I was able to stay on the job, stay out of the streets, was to find the Lord. And the Lord saved my life. He took me out of the streets. He changed my ways. I have 8 beautiful children. The youngest is 19. I lost my 21-year-old daughter 3 years ago as a passenger in a car crash. In 1999, when I was committing my crimes, I lost both grandfathers. In 2000, I lost my mother. 2003, I lost my auntie. I lost my mother to kidney failure. I lost my auntie from kidney failure. My mother was 43, my auntie was 47. While I was sick, I went back to MATC, where I got my GED. I also took my college courses in medical administration. I took a year off from MATC so that I can lose the weight, so that I can have my kidney transplant, which I just received. It's been a year now. My plans are to go back to school in the fall. I went for nursing. I could not become a nurse, so I went for medical administration. I have 11 grandchildren. I am a married man. I am a man of God. I have changed my ways. I no longer look back. Since then, I have coached AAU basketball. I have started a program that was long put in place with Todd Day in Hillside Boys and Girls Club, which was called the Midnight League. 3 years ago, I was asked to come in and give my insight on the program coming back, which involved the Milwaukee Bucks and MPS schools. I sat on that board of meetings and gave my insight on what I thought would take place. With the help of Brother Bailu and Anthony Evans, we gave our insight, and the program was initiated, and the Milwaukee Bucks paid for everything. Everything was being taking place at Bradley Tech and Custer High School here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Once they found out my record, they kicked me off the board. When I gave my insight, when everything was taking place to come back, was turned out to be a beautiful success and still is in play to the day. And with that program, it takes youth from 18 to 25 at that time. Now it's 18 to 29. I've coached a lot of AAU basketball tournaments to bring the youth together. I work close with Hunger Task Force and Feeding America here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, feeding the needy, feeding the homeless. And that's what I do. You know, I participate in my church activities. I mentor students. I work close with Carter Christian Academy for the last 3 years. I did transportation for all the Lumen schools, still do now to this day. Also offer bouncy houses for the Lumen schools in the summertime for all the students, for new enrollees, for the upcoming school years. Also, I do everything that I can for my community to stop what I see. I talk to youth that I see that are acting up, and I just tell them about how I used to be and the road that they're heading towards. Why do I feel I need? Why do I feel
sorry,
I
Oscar. I'm just
Go
gonna.
ahead.
You've been
Yes, sir.
very thorough. I'm just gonna open up for questions, but you've done a very good, thorough job. So I just want to see if the board has questions.
Yes, sir.
So thanks for your presentation. Like I said, you did a very thorough job. I'm also very glad to hear that the kidney transplant went well, and hope that it continues to go well for you. And
God is good. God is good.
yeah, and you can enjoy all of those grandkids. So thanks for your presentation today, Oscar. You'll hear from us in a month or two, but again, glad to hear about the successful transplant, and have a wonderful weekend.
Yes, sir. Thank you too.
Thank you. All right, next we will be hearing from Jazz Monty Anderson. So Jazz Monty, if you wouldn't mind just unmuting yourself and turning your camera on.
Hello,
All
hello.
right.
Good evening,
Hello.
good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Anderson. So you've seen how this works. So the next 5 minutes are yours to share your story with us, and then I'll open up for questions. So please proceed.
All right, great. Thank you. And thank you for this time. Thank you, board, for everything, for this opportunity. Well, okay, let me go ahead and get started. Started getting in trouble at a later age. I was around 27. My mother was she was very tight knit, and we was real close together, and she ended up passing away suddenly. And she's been there for me, of course, my whole life, and since then, when she passed away, that took me for a spiral, because I felt like the world was closing in on me, and I lost, my mom and things like that, and it really messed me up mentally. I didn't know too much about mental health and things like that. How it is now is very, it's out there now, and I went through that, and I ended up committing the crime, making the wrong decisions, hanging with the wrong people. I was 27 years old, getting, just making all the wrong decisions. And I end up a theft of movable property from a bank. I was party to a crime to that. Terrible decision. And then also a year later, I end up getting a fleeing and eluding case with possession of TAC. And since then, my probation and everything, I was granted probation for the theft of movable property. That was 4 years. Completed that with no hiccups or anything like that, no dirty UAs or anything like that. I completed that successfully. Also with the fleeing and eluding, I paid all my fees and things of that, as far as, for probation had me to pay, as far as my restitution fees for that, and the court fees, I should say, court fees. And then since then, my father, which is my pastor, also my counselor, he helped me through the whole situation. He prayed with me. He told me he's not judging me. This is the time now to get my life back on track. So since then, that's what it's been. I'm married. I've been with my wife for 23 years. Married for 16. We have 9 beautiful children. They all are grown. My daughter, she's in Morocco right now. She's in Morocco with the National Guard. I got my oldest daughter, she's in college. We do have a daycare center now. Me and my wife, we worked hard. After I completed my probation and everything, we worked hard, saved our money up, and and I'm still here now. Actually, I'm in the office now at the daycare, and we've been in business for 12 years now, going on 12 years. And this is nothing but positive things that's coming from me from now on. And And then also I started my home remodeling business. I didn't figure out I had a gift until later on. But I started my home remodeling business called Raw Talent Home Remodeling. I started that. I got my LLC started like 2017, 2018. And I've been working on homes. And like I said, I didn't know I had a gift that God blessed me with. So I'm applying that. And also work at the daycare as a maintenance man, van driver, part-time. And in my home remodeling business doing pretty good. And my kids are all grown and not in trouble, not in no mischief. I preach to them all the time about making the right decisions because I made the wrong decisions in the past. And now I'm 44 years old. And this is one of the things I have on my list, that having an opportunity to, show that I am a law-abiding citizen. And it's nothing but positive things going from my way. I even assist the police department when they come to the daycare to get video surveillance for any crimes in the area. They come here a lot to get the videos and things of that nature. We give out food to the needy parents that comes into the building. We have stock boxes and have a little food pantry here. They can come and get foods they need, anything for their homes. We provide school supplies for the kids. Pick up trash around the community. Me and a few guys who walk around, and just do community work. And reflecting back, that the judge never granted me for counseling or things of that nature. So, but I seek counsel from my father, which is my pastor still to this day. And he helped me through this, and by me believing in God and everything got me to this point now, you know what I mean? And I don't have any urges of going back down that lane. I preach to everybody, hey, please don't, man, hey, listen, man, make the right decision. Okay. Please do. I preach it to my kids. Don't hang around the wrong crowds. If you see something going on, just leave, call me, I'll come get you, whatever, I just want you to be safe and don't be around the wrong crowd, because that's what happened to me, now to this day, I'm just thankful for this opportunity. And if you guys have any questions for me, I'm more open. You can ask me anything. And that's pretty much it.
Thanks, Mr. Anderson. Questions from the board? Jerry?
Mr. Anderson,
yes.
Well, let's talk about the bank robbery.
Okay.
According to the complaint, you got more than $40,000.
Yes.
From that bank robbery. I have two questions for you.
Okay.
What happened to the money, and why did not you have to pay it back?
Okay. Now let me tell you, this is what prayer and power does for you. Okay. Now, as far as the money, once you do something wrong like that, I don't care what you do with the money, like it's nothing good gonna come from it. So that money, you try to do something with the money, it never goes right. And that was my situation, because I'm knowing that I had did the wrong thing. And when nothing, it happened good for me as far as with the money. So it's just, everything I tried to do was crumbling. Everything I was trying to do was crumbling, and it wasn't, things just wasn't working out right for me. And I just knew that it's because of what I've done to get the money. And then as far as the restitution, believing in God, honestly, if you really have faith and believe in him, and you really believe in the word and stand firm on it, everything I prayed for came out in court. I prayed for no restitution. I prayed for no jail time. I prayed for all of that. And that's my testimony. That's my testimony that I say in church, and everything that came out through the judge's mouth, I wasn't looking at the judge judging me. I was looking at God was speaking through the judge to me. And that's why.
Okay. When the judge was speaking to you, what did he say about the restitution?
he said it was no restitution for me to be paid.
Okay, well, that'll preach.
Hey, listen, a lot of people don't believe it, but I mean, that's my testimony. And that's my testimony to this day. God had blessed me. He turned my life around. I'm not that kind of gentleman anymore. I'm like I said, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I paid all my dues and my debts. I did my probations. I got everything wiped clean. And since then, I've been on a clean slate. I stayed employed. I'm still employed now. I'm doing great. And just looking at different things. And then also, the reason why I would like to have this pardon removed is because of business-wise, people would CCAP you or look you up. And I lost a lot of business just because of my record. Don't get me wrong, I still get some clients, but some of the clients would turn me down just because of my record.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions from the board? Just one follow-up to Jerry's question, Mr. Anderson. So did they recover any of the funds or did you spend it all?
Well, it just went all on me. It was 3 of us involved in the party of the crime. So it was split up between everybody, but no.
Yeah, but did the police didn't recover any of it?
I'm telling you the honest truth that everything I tried to do wasn't working for me. Everything was crumbling because I knew that it was the wrong thing that I've done.
Mm-hmm.
And was nothing the money recovered. I mean, for me to get my start for my business didn't come from that. It's all started from ground up.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for your time, Mr. Anderson. You heard me say it a couple of times before that you'll hear from us in a month or two from today's hearing in terms of the outcome, but I appreciate your time and hope you have a good weekend.
All right. Thank you. And you do the same.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Next, we'll hear from Nicholas Biculi. So Nicholas. All right, Nick, there you are. Well, you've seen how this goes, Nick. So now it's your opportunity to share your story with the board, and then I'll open it up for questions. So please proceed.
Sounds good. So in 1997, me and 2 of my friends were downtown Madison drinking. We were young. I had just turned 18 years old. And we had got word from another friend that a guy he knew had some drugs. I can't remember if it was marijuana or what it was. But we went over to his house to try to get some from a guy we didn't even know. And one thing led to another. And I got in a tussle with the guy and he started shooting. And I got him to the ground, took the firearm, left the apartment, threw it in a dumpster outside of the apartment. And I mean, that was it. A bunch of young kids from Spring Green. I mean, we had no business even being down there doing that stuff. So the sentence went well. I was in jail for 9 months, 6 years probation. Everything went well. I was working through my Huber. Got out, started working for a home builder. That all went good. And then I needed more money. I started to have children. So I got into the commercial construction industry. Started in commercial construction 18 years ago as a laborer. Went through a carpentry apprenticeship through the ABC, Associated Builders and Contractors. Was a carpenter for a little bit and then got moved up to an assistant superintendent. And I'm talking big construction, hundreds of millions of dollars. And now I am the boss. I actually am a project superintendent for a large commercial construction contractor. So I oversee, anywhere from 50 to 60 people. I've been working at a biotech firm in Madison, a big one that I'm, know the owner. I know everyone here. Actually, I'm in a job trailer at their place right now. So I guess I feel I deserve the pardon, you guys, just because it was a long time ago. I haven't even gotten any trouble. I mean, that's just in the past. I'm a leader. I have a great career. I've owned my own house for, 15, 20 years. I have 4 children. My second oldest daughter is on the dean's list at the UW Oshkosh. So I would, I'd say that was an accomplishment in my life just as much as hers. And that's about it. Pretty cut and dry. It took me a while to do this because I my life's good right now, but I just would like this off my record. I mean, is it hurting my job? No, because these people know who I am and they've seen me work up through the ranks and they trust me. So, yeah, that's what I have.
All right, thanks, Nick. Questions from the board? Noble?
Yes, Nick, did you know the victim?
I did not. I had no idea. It was like a friend of a friend. So I had an older friend who knew another guy who knew the victim.
Have you had any contact with the victim since this incident?
I have not. I don't even know his name or anything.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions? All right. Well, thanks, Nick, for appearing before us. You'll hear from us in a month or two, but I appreciate your time and hope you have a good day.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. All right. Next, we will be hearing from Kelly Landry. So, Kelly. Let me see. Kelly, if you're on, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself and turning your camera on. There we go.
Can you see me? Hello.
We're getting a lot of feedback. There we go.
I'm trying to. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, do you have two devices connected or do you have
two devices, but I'm trying to turn one off.
Okay. So
Did
if
it
you
go off?
That's a little bit better, yeah.
Hold on.
All right.
How's that?
Still have feedback from the other device.
Now it should be off.
I think what we might do, Kelly, is we'll come right back to you. We'll have one of our staff members call you and then we'll work out the feedback
I think we got
issue.
it.
Yeah, we're still getting a pretty strong echo.
I'm trying to turn this thing off.
Oh, that sounds better, actually. Yeah, just make sure you only have one device on, because otherwise.
Yeah. Oh my God, I can hear you echoing too.
All right, so we'll come back to you, Kelly.
Okay.
All right, so we will jump ahead to Ronald Burbach. So Ronald, looks like you are on. All right, there we go. So Mr. Burbach, you've seen how this works. Now's your opportunity to share your story with us. So please proceed.
My name is Ronald P. Burbach. I'm 63 years old, and I was charged in July of 1993 and eventually convicted of theft of a business setting while I was employed as police chief for the village of Dickeyville in Wisconsin, where I was born and raised. I got involved in a relationship with the wrong person. To describe the charge, I would get cash advances from my credit card using the village charge plate. I would pay it back, but eventually, for lack of a better way to put it, it snowballed, and it was exposed by the village clerk, or to the village clerk. It was also found that there was a couple citations that did not make it to the clerk of court. I was sentenced to 10 years probation, 200 hours of community service for every year on probation, and to make restitution. I was released from probation on 11/13 of 2003. And to this day, whenever I talk about it, it sounds as though I blame other things for the people. That is not the case. I was an adult, and from the day one of the investigation with Chief Deputy Lloyd Grundy of the Grand County Sheriff's Office, I took full responsibility for what happened. I made it very clear to him that I was to blame and no one else. Even though Dickeyville is a very small village, a lot of things happen that more so than people realize. I was paid a salary of $10 an hour. I had a ton of separation. I had to work 50 hours a week and be on call whenever possible. And hours over 50 would be put in the compensation pool to be used when possible. The job became very time consuming. A lot of times the job would show up at my house. I had two different very serious domestics show up at my residence. The first one, to this day, I can still picture my now ex-wife picking up my son and leaving, saying that she had had enough. I had several things happen throughout the course of my employment that I would wish on no one. Some physical, some emotional. I think about what happened every day of my life and the people I've hurt by my actions, and that list is long. To this day, I'm very ashamed of what I did. I feel that I aged my parents because of my actions. I could see it in their eyes. It looked as if they had lost a son, but their love was still there for me. I never left Dickeyville after the conviction until I had met my wife now of 18 years. It was a town and people that to this day I care a lot about. I lost almost everything from this action. I had coached grade school basketball for around 12 years, was on the rescue squad for 18 years, the fire department for 5. I had many friends and the respect I worked very hard to achieve, and everything I knew was gone. Over the years, you ask about why you want a pardon or why you think you deserve it. And over the years, those reasons changed, whether it be from helping me get a better job to wanting to go hunting, et cetera, et cetera. At one point, I pretty much just figured that this is it, and I would just let it go. But my wife talked me into applying again. And the person once told me to forgive yourself. You have to forgive yourself before you can begin the healing process. But I'm still not sure if that's possible in my mind. But I hope that a pardon will help this process. I see a pardon as a state saying we don't forget your actions because they were wrong, but you have shown that forgiveness is in order. I believe a good life. I have a good life. I have a partial disability. I have a good job now with the city of Dubuque, driving city bus for the Joel. My wife and I are prime caregivers for my mother, who turned 89 today. She has early onset dementia and other health issues. And I also oversee my son day to day. He has medical issues. He came back to live with me several years back, but I was able to get him back out on his own. As far as employment, since this has happened, well, first off, I did have one instance while I was on probation. The person I was involved with, I was trying to get some of my stuff back, and she made false allegations to my probation officer. And the probation officer put a hold on me, and I was taken into custody, and I was held for the 10 days. If I remember right, that was 10 days that they could possibly hold you for. And as soon as I got before the judge, he released me right away. The probation officer could not find the complainant to get a statement from her. Other than that, throughout the course of probation, it was a long one. It was all of the 10 years. I had a lot of people watching me, which was justifiable. I mean, it was deserving. What I did was wrong and absolutely terrible. I'm not trying to belittle the seriousness of it at all. To this day, I still have close friends in Dickeyville. I never left Dickeyville until, like I said, until I met my wife and we got married. I still love Dickeyville. To this day, I call it my home. I have lots of friends, and I continue to try to do good. I have a small lawn care type business that I every year it seems like I pick up one customer that has hardships and I pretty much mow their lawn for nothing. It's just part of my way of trying to pay back society, whether that's right or wrong. But it's my call on that. I have a wonderful wife of 18 years. I have 2 stepchildren. I have my son, and I was blessed with 2 grandchildren. To this day, I've got to try to keep a low profile. All I care about really is hopefully taking care of my family. I go to work every day. I really, like I said, when I talk about this, I get very emotional because no matter how I talk about it, it sounds like I'm always trying to blame something else. Or it looks like I'm trying to blame something of why this happened. That's not it. I was an adult. I make those decisions. I screw it up, plain and simple. Whether I deserve a part, I don't think that's for my eyes or my mind to decide. I'd like to think I've lived a good life and deserve it, but that's up to you guys. I don't know what else to say. It's been a long
No,
time.
that's good. I'll open up for questions, Ronald. Questions from the board. Jerry?
Mr. Burbach, your application was basically resubmitted from 2009.
Yes.
I wonder if you can talk about your life in Dickeyville after this happened. Because you stayed in the community, right? You'd been the chief of police and convicted of this felony, but you stayed in town. And what was your life like then?
First, I stayed in town because I loved the town. It was difficult at times. Being from that town, everybody knows everybody. Everybody, for the most part, knows everybody's business. But I knew stuff about people, some things that nobody want to know. To this day, I keep them to myself. I've never talked about them because those will die with me because those were part of the job. A lot of those people have forgiven me. They've come up and they said they were glad that I stayed. They said I was, quote unquote, I was a good cop. In a lot of ways I was, but I screwed up. It wasn't easy at times. I had people challenge me in places of business. I had people that I had experiences with previous, and they physically would challenge me. But fortunately, there's always somebody around to intervene and back that person off. And I thought and I felt staying there was part of my quote unquote punishment or my sentence. I could have left. I could have made life a lot easier on me, but I didn't think that was right. I love that town. I still do. I hope I am.
Yeah. Thank you.
Answered your question. I'm not.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Noble?
Yes, Ronald, could you talk a bit about holding such a high position as chief of police and committing a felony in the violation of public trust?
I'm sorry, all I got is violation of public trust.
Yeah, could you talk a bit about holding the position of chief of police, committing a felony, and what that means as it relates to violating a public trust?
It put a lot of pressure on the people that follow me. Try to regain that trust. The internet connection was kind of broken up. I hope I'm answering the question the way you had placed it.
I was trying to get to
I violated their trust. Yes.
Yes.
I violated their trust, but in turns, my actions also made it a lot harder on other people that were not necessarily in the exact office, but people that wore the uniform, people that basically people that wore the uniform. And when I had to come to face with everything, that was a very hard thing to do, was select the people that I cared about, which was also my fellow officers, because we were all close. They were like family to me. I apologize if I didn't answer your question right, but I don't know if it's my internet connection. It may very well be. But I hope I answered your question. If not, I'd like to another.
No, you're fine. It is breaking up though.
All right, well, thanks, Robert, for appearing before us. We were able to hear most of that, so don't worry. So thank you for appearing before us. You'll hear from us in a month or two in terms of the outcome of the process, but I appreciate your time and hope you have a good weekend.
Just thank you, everyone, for
hearing
me out.
Thank you. All right. I think we are now should have better luck with Kelly Landry. So Kelly, if you won't mind unmuting yourself.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep, just fine.
Can you see me?
Here, I just sent you a thing asking to turn your video on. If you click on that, it should there we go.
Can you see
Perfect.
me now?
Yep, just fine.
Okay.
So you've seen how this works now. So we'll do take two here. We always run into a couple of issues, but that's totally fine. So next 5 minutes are yours in order to share your story with us in terms of how you ended up with your felony conviction and what's happened afterwards and why you think you've earned the chance to receive a pardon. So please proceed.
Okay, first of all, sorry about the mistakes. Okay.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
I would like to start out by thanking Governor Tony Evers and the Pardon Review Board for giving me the opportunity to submit this application for a pardon, as well as taking the time out of his schedule to review it. My name is Kelly Landry. My birth date is 12/6/57. Approximately 44 years ago, on April 5th, 1976, I made a poor decision of taking possession of a stolen property. The stolen property was a 396 engine valued at $150 in its current condition, which was determined by the insurance company. With that being said, in April 1976, this was considered a felony due to the value being over $100. I was subsequently arrested and charged with receiving stolen property felony. Prior to attending court and pleading guilty, I paid $150, the value of the engine, to the general casualty insurance company. I went to court on April 27th, pled guilty to receiving stolen property, $150 value, which again made it the felony. I informed the judge that I had made restitution on the property and was found guilty of receiving stolen property on April 27, 1976. As a result of the conviction, I was sentenced to 3 years in prison, but was a stayed sentence and 2 years probation. I successfully completed this. Also noted that on November 23rd, 1977, the Wisconsin statutes of receiving stolen property had changed. Stolen property of $150 value was classified as a Class A misdemeanor then. Anything over $500 value was considered a felony. Today, receiving stolen property Class A misdemeanor if the value does not exceed $2,500. However, if it's over $2,500 and under $5,000, it is a Class 1 felony. I just wanted to provide that information for information purposes only. Since then, I would like to hope I've grown into a more mature and better person. I have not had police contact in over 36 years other than minor traffic violations. I've gotten married, had raised 2 children. Shane, my son, is 22 years old, high school graduate, and currently working for the family business as an automotive technician. Samantha, 26 years old, high school graduate, college graduate, and received her doctorate in veterinary medicine in May after completing 7 years of higher education. I started my own company in 1989, Top Gun Automotive Specialist. I opened an automotive repair facility on the northeast side of Milwaukee, where I have the opportunity to help thousands of people a year. In 33 years, I have had not any complaints from the city of Milwaukee. I keep a clean and respectable establishment, and I also go to neighborhood meetings to help with improvement of the community. I help a lot of local people keep the area clean and have had numerous outside security cameras that have aided to the Milwaukee Police Department in several incidences that occurred in the area. They are able to view footage and apprehend criminals on both major and minor incidents. I hope to have my son continue the family business. As my children grow older, we spend a lot of time outdoors doing different activities such as fishing, riding ATVs. Both my daughter and son have inquired about hunting. Unfortunately, with the felony under my belt, we aren't able to do. Both my children understand, but as many years have passed, laws change as well as the people. I truly believe I've become a very responsible individual and would love the opportunity to take my family hunting as well as partake in things that I have not been able to in the past. Again, I want to thank you in advance for you guys taking the time to review this application. I would also like to take my kids to Canada fishing. I can't get into Canada, but a felony either. That's my story. That's what it is.
All right. Thanks, Mr. Landry. One question I have for you, Mr. Landry, just on your social media, you have quite a few posts about the outlaw motorcycle gang. Can you just tell me what is that about?
Well, what happened is in 1999, I opened a motorcycle repair facility in Burlington. I live in Burlington. I opened a repair facility in Burlington, Wisconsin. And it was doing really well. Well, all of a sudden they started coming around and hanging around and, expected stuff for free. Well, I wasn't doing anything for free with them. So then they just dissipated. When the housing market crashed in 2008, I closed my motorcycle shop up. But during the whole period, I had kept my automotive repair facility. So now I went back to Milwaukee and I'm at my repair facility. I have no contact with the Outlaw Motorcycle Club or none of that anymore. And basically, like I said, they were customers at my facility. And until they found out they weren't going to get stuff for free, then they left.
Okay. And it looks like also too, is it your son who does a lot of deer hunting?
I have a friend of my son's does the deer hunting. He comes to my property and does the hunting, and he actually gave me half his deer when he got the deer out here.
Yeah. Okay. So you don't hunt do you hunt yourself, like with a bow?
No, I don't hunt at all. I can't hunt.
Okay. Other questions from the board? All right, well, thanks, Mr. Landry, for appearing before us. You've heard me say it, number of times. You'll hear from us in terms of the outcome of the process the next month or two, but appreciate your time and hope you have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we will go to Robert Creech. So Robert, see, looks like you're on.
Hello.
Well, you've seen how this works, Robert, so go ahead.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank you guys for your time and for giving me the opportunity to be here. My conviction was over 30 years ago. Me and an acquaintance were out drinking one night. After we got done drinking, we entered a business through a window and took some property, merchandise. I got a 2-year sentence out of it. I served 9 months. In that 9 months, I made good use of my time. I got my my GED. I got counseling. I got some job skills, stuff like that. Even though this weighs heavy on me yet, I made some bad choices and decisions back then. And I take full responsibility for that. Like I said, it was over 30-some years ago. Even though this weighs heavy on me, I did move forward with my life. And I tried to be a better person. I had become a better person. I think getting this pardon, though, would definitely open up more doors for me and opportunities that I haven't been able to pursue. I've got a good history in working. I worked construction for 20-some years. When construction got slow, I went into maintenance, and I worked my way up from maintenance to a millwright, where I've been doing that for the last 17 and a half years. I got my CDL. I got my CPR training, certified in that. I do volunteer work. I've helped numerous people out, either financially or housing, emotionally. I do stuff like that. And that's pretty much all the breakdown of what I've been doing. I mean, I've helped out numerous people throughout my life here, stuff like that. So.
All right. Thanks, Robert. Did you remain in I know this is a long time ago since this occurred in what, 82, 83?
Yes.
Did you know the victim?
Yes, I did. It was I grew up in a small town, and it was a business in a town, so yes, I did.
Okay. Did you stay in contact with the victim or have any further communications or contact?
I would run into him every once in a while, but it was just something that happened. I mean, he was a business owner. I mean, he pretty much went on with his life. I went on with my life.
Okay. The reason why I ask is just he says he sincerely hopes that you can be pardoned, was when we contacted him. Yes. Any questions from the board? All right. Well, Robert, thanks for appearing before us. You'll hear from us in a month or two, but hope you have a good weekend.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
All right. Thanks. All right. Next, we'll hear from Johnny Burke. So Johnny, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself and turning your camera on.
Hi, how you guys doing?
Doing well. Thanks. Well, you've seen how this works, so go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to first off thank you guys for hosting all of us, honestly. And just get into it. So September 19, 2000, or September 13, sorry, 2001, I was convicted of felony, party to crime of felony theft, in which I was working at a bank at the time, and property was removed from the bank in the amount of $5,000. Honestly, just a horrible decision on my behalf. 19 at the time. Arrested, I took full responsibility for it. Like full confession, details, everything. After being arrested, released, probation, 3 years, was released early for good behavior. After that, I've worked primarily retail up until 2009. I started as a janitor at Children's Hospital. And from there, kind of worked my way up, the operating room assistant. And since 2017, I've been an anesthesia tech. I was enrolled in school for dialysis until seeing my grandmother go through dialysis before she passed away. So then I dropped out. But while in MHCC, I was on the dean's list with a 3.8 GPA. Father of 5, husband. I'm looking for a pardon, basically. Just based on previous history and my track record. Like, I have no juvenile record. I have no other offenses other than this one, and just looking for a second chance, to prove my worth to the community.
Great. Thanks, Johnny. Questions from the board? Jerry? You're muted, Jerry.
Mr. Burks, how will a pardon help your job?
In Wisconsin, I'm completely fine, but me and my family are planning on relocating. And in some states, you do need to have your emergency medical technician certificate. And with the felony, I cannot obtain that. And I learned that when I was entertaining being a firefighter. And I learned from the battalion chief that I can be a firefighter with a felony, but to be a firefighter, you have to have that certificate, which you cannot obtain with a felony.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily helping my job. It's allowing me in another state to stay in my current field.
Other questions from the board? Mr. Burks, and sometimes these records aren't always the most up to date, but have you paid off your restitution?
Yes, sir. My restitution is completely paid. I also did my community service through a summer recreation program. All my supervision fees were paid.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I just like to add too, I take full responsibility for the amount. There was another party involved, in this. And the way the bank worked was they would record over that day, the very next month. So there was no video evidence, no anything of the crime committed, and when we got arrested, I was completely honest. That person, they chose their own path. I had nothing to do with that, and the funds were split. I took responsibility for the full amount that was taken because I was the only one charged. And I'm fine with that. I've grown from it. I've progressed in life, and I'm completely fine with it.
Okay, great, thanks. Well, you've heard me say before, but we'll let you know about the outcome in about a month or two from today's date, but hope you have a good day and a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. And I appreciate you guys so much for hosting me.
Nope, glad to do so. All right, our last applicant for today is John Stoll. Well, Mr. Stoll, you've seen how this works. So now is your opportunity to share your story with us. So please proceed.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. And first and most importantly, thank you for this opportunity. With good advice, both legal and otherwise, I appeared before you all in hopes of reconciliation and restoration of my constitutional rights. So once again, thank you very much. Let me begin by telling you all that I was born and raised in a large, loving family with a mom and dad that did teach me morals and right from wrong. And it'll haunt me till the day I die. How I so disappointed them and myself and others. And with that, that will always be my punitive life sentence. My situation was nearly half a century ago. 17, it was the summer of 1973. And we were walking in the back alley of a downtown area, and we noticed a window half open to a store that we knew was the store we would frequently buy record albums. So we got this harebrained idea to sneak in there. I was apprehensive, but I was also young and dumb and couldn't really think past my nose at the time. So I did it anyways. We walked out with a bunch of record albums and a couple pieces of stereo equipment. You know, it all just happened so fast. It was just way too easy. It was a time of instant opportunity. You know, if that window wasn't open, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. Never would have happened. But it did, and in the end, I accepted the responsibility. So eventually I was apprehended, the result of an informant. And I admitted my guilt, but no contest. I got 2 years probation and had to pay restitution. Both I fulfilled immediately without any issues. Because of the value of what I took way back then, I heard another gentleman say it was $100. I thought it was $150, but it probably was $100. That was over that, so that bumped me from a misdemeanor to a felony. So that's really my story of my nonviolent but very stupid random act. That's how it went. I vowed to never ever do something like that ever again. To this day, I'm still ashamed of what I did. As the old saying goes, you don't have to hit me with a stick more than once to learn. So I picked myself up, got a good job, worked my way from general laborer to supervision, where I attended supervisory management classes and seminars, and eventually wound up in the maintenance department, which involved a lot of training and certifications. And after 44 plus years with the same company, which is almost unheard of now, I retired. During that time, I found and married a beautiful woman and will celebrate 41 years of marriage soon. We raised 2 children into phenomenal adults and parents themselves, and blessed us with 3 wonderful grandchildren. Now they got this old guy babysitting and going to 4-year-old T-ball games again. They created a whole new chapter in life for Grandma and Grandpa. As far as community involvement, I coached various elementary level boys and girls baseball, and to a lesser degree, I assisted in coaching football. I participated in my daughter's school projects for a couple of years with the roadside trash cleanup, where I supplied the truck and carted them around. We took care of the garbage. And for a few years while it lasted, I volunteered for the Take a Veteran Muskie fishing program that was on Random Lake. That's where I provided the boat, the equipment, and I had the privilege to guide Korean and Vietnam veterans. And let me tell you, that was a good experience. As a lifelong musician, I have on many occasions volunteered through various benefits and fundraisers throughout the years. And finally, you asked me why I think I should get a pardon. Since my offense, I've been going through life trying to be a good person, husband, father, friend, and citizen. In this day and age, people do background checks for almost everything. To have a felony on my record can inhibit, in one way or another, many opportunities. I would love to go fishing in Canada or visit some foreign countries, but a lot of them won't let you in. Even volunteering, renting a home, or to legally purchase and possess a firearm. I would like to be able to protect my family, whether it be from man or beast. There's a lot of bears up by me. And with the economy the way it is today, and being on a fixed retirement income now, the opportunity for employment, if needed, can be severely limited. Yes, I stole a bunch of records as a teenager. I'm very remorseful for that. I am now 66 years old. I believe that over the many years, I've proven myself to be an honest, trustworthy, and responsible man. So here I am today, respectfully requesting that after nearly 50 years, I can get that second chance to become just an ordinary citizen again and not a felon. That's all. So thank you very much for listening.
Thanks, Mr. Stoll. Questions from the board? All right, well, you're very thorough, so you get off easy today, Mr. Stoll. Thanks for sharing your story with us. You'll hear from us in about a month or two, but appreciate your time and have a good weekend.
Thank you, you all too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, and that concludes our afternoon session of the Pardon Advisory Board. We have listed on the open meeting notice to go into closed session for the reasons listed. For the reasons listed on the open meeting notice, including for purposes of discussing specific applications, personal, medical, and financial information, among other things. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
Noble moves first, John seconds it. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, we are in closed session. And so I'm going to be moving some folks into the waiting room.